Chapter 157. The first fiancé. I don't want to lose you. For that, I will tell you my heart's feeling bravely. I want to live my whole life together with you. For the first time in her life, she had such a passion in her heart. This was the only opportunity to dominate her destiny after her parents' deaths. No matter what would happen, she wouldn't regret the decision she made at this moment. Have you really decided it? She looked at Lulu. The light in her eyes was so bright. She didn't have her past memory. She didn't know who he was and where he was from. In this world, Lulu was just an ordinary village girl who had only inherited a pharmaceutical skill from her parents. She was entitled to be Water God's bride, but she had decided to resist her destiny. She didn't know his true identity, but she still believed him, entrusting her life to him. In Yunshi's eyes, Lulu was so cute and bright like a sparkling gem. Unfortunately, this wasn't a real world. After Yunshi finished his quest, perhaps this world would return to the void. However, before that happened, he would promise her that she would become his fiancée. In response to her expectation, he would help her escape her fate from becoming Water God's bride. Do you really want to be my fiancée? Yunshi asked her in a gentle tone. Yes. I won't regret it. No matter what will happen, I want to stay with you. From today on, I hope I can learn a lot from you. Lulu shyly lowered her head. In Water God's world, once a girl agreed to marry a man, it meant that the girl had entrusted her life to the man. From that moment on, her life and her future would be bound together with that man tightly. Because Yunshi was Water God's apostle, his promise was equal to a vow from Water God. It would be guaranteed by the god. Side Quest 4, To Love, Starchild, is opened. You have signed the first contract with you first fiancé. Overlap Lulu's power of fate with your power. Yunshi heard the system's beeps. At the same time, a total new power flowed into his body without getting stuck. From now on, Lulu's power had totally belonged to Yunshi. The first superposition was completed. A large 1 pattern appeared behind the side quest 4 in the system. It meant the current number of Yunshi's fiancé. Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Yunshi held the girl's hands. Her hands were soft but warm and strong. If she hadn't decided to accept him, she wouldn't have run to this place desperately to tell him her answer. Whoa. I will try my best. I know how to cook, clean the room, refine medicine and what to do at night. Lulu spoke haltingly. Her ears turned pink after saying that. Don't worry. You are still a child. I will marry you after you grow up, Yunshi said. He smiled looking at Lulu's bewildered expression. I'm not a child. At my age, many girls have had babies. Lulu threw out her chest. She wasn't lying. Many girls in the village, some of them even younger than her, were already married. Yunshi was agape and tongue-tied. Wasn't it only for helping her to avoid to be chosen as Water God's bride? Why did she look at me so seriously? Did I say something wrong? Did she misunderstand my words? But why? Why do her shy eyes and blushing face look so cute? I know. I'm not mature enough. Dear Apostle, you are a great man, you must have had a lot of brides. However, I have my own strong points. I'm just a third-ranked pharmacist, but I'm still growing. I still stand a chance to reach the 4th rank. So, don't look down on me, Lulu pouted. Wait. I don't have a lot of brides. You are my first fiancé. Yunshi raised his hands. Gee, I'm the first. Impossible. Many people in our village have 3 or 4 wives. Lulu looked at Yunshi in surprise. You are so mature and strong, why don't you marry a lot of brides? It's too abnormal. Well, is this the tradition of this world? Nah. Anyway, you are my first fiancé. I promise. Yunshi didn't know how to explain it. He looked like a middle-aged man now. It seemed that in this world, it was very strange that a man at his age hadn't got married. I'm the first, Lulu was shocked. To become the great apostle's first wife, what a great honor. She was just a village girl. Did she really deserve it? According to the tradition in Water God's world, a man could marry several wives. Normally, a man's first wife was very important. According to the man's identity and family, the man's first wife had been decided even before he became a grown-up. Marriage must be well-matched in social and economic status. This was a basic rule that had been recognized by all the classes in the world. She was the first. She didn't even dare to dream it. Water God's apostle was handsome and personable. Shouldn't he have married dozens of brides? Don't worry. I will be responsible for you. Looking at Lulu's confused face, Yunshi smiled with the corners of his mouth upward. He gently stroked her head and said, I want you to be my first fiancé. No, I can't. Lulu's thoughts returned to the world. She quickly shook her head. No, you can't say no. You are the first. Yunshi teased her. Anyway, this was just a trial world. After the star trial finished, she would forget this experience. Yes, I'm not going to become a scum. It's not my intention. I just want to help the girls avoid to become water gods' brides, and increase my power incidentally. Was this the true meaning to side quest 4? But, I don't deserve it, Lulu said, at least, not till after I become a 4th-ranked pharmacist. Don't be afraid. I believe in you. Do you believe in me? If so, believe in yourself, believe in the you that I have faith in. You are weak now, but please, believe that you are a girl that deserves to be my bride. Chapter 158, The Wedding Gown. Is it real? Even if an ordinary, weak girl like me deserves to be your bride. Dear Apostle, do you really believe in me? Lulu gazed at Yunshi's mask with excitement and hesitation. He was the first person who had believed in her life. She was just an ordinary girl who was born in an ordinary village, a girl who only knew how to make medicine. Did she really deserve his trust? When Yunshi held her hands, her heart was beating fast, feeling the temperature of Yunshi's hands. She could barely look at Yunshi's eyes after hearing his words. Yes, you should trust yourself. You will become a lady who won't lose out to anyone in the world. Yunshi was sure about it, because her fate had been changed by his seed in her body. According to what Maya had told him, she had a limitless, bright future. I will try my best. Lulu blushed. She felt that her hands had almost been melted in Yunshi's warm hands. What should I do? Does my face look strange now? Will he feel that I'm a weird girl? Oh, his hands are so big. Idiot. I'm an idiot. What am I thinking? Why didn't I behave more gentle and restrained? What a shame. Not surprisingly, compared to the Honorable Apostle, I'm still a child. He just said a few words, but he helped me regain my courage. I raise my head and gaze at his mask. I can feel his mature temperament and gritty determination. Am I really his first fiancé? To be such a great man's first fiancé, it's wonderful, like a dream. I must make greater efforts to become a better lady, so that I can live up to him. After that, Yunshi announced his engagement with Lulu to the village people. Oh. Dear Apostle, you will marry Lulu? It's her honor. Oh, praise Water God. How lucky Lulu is. Dear Apostle, my daughter is also good. Of course, she isn't as good as Lulu, but if you don't mind, banquet. We must hold a banquet immediately. This is the biggest event in our village's history. As was expected, all the villagers began to rave. They all showered their blessings on Lulu and Yunshi, and no one doubted if there was something wrong. Looking at these villagers, Yunshi felt slightly guilty in his heart, because he wasn't really going to marry Lulu. It was just to help her avoid becoming Water God's bride. However, everyone thought that it was the happiest thing for Lulu to marry Yunshi. Being affected by them, even Yunshi himself started to have such an illusion. The villagers built a dais beside the burning bonfire. Lulu was wearing the village's traditional clothes, standing beside Yunshi. Red and white cotton dress, black cotton belt and a flower-like hair headdress were the traditional clothes of the village, which would only be worn by the bride on her wedding. Yunshi said that it was just an engagement, but he was Water God's apostle. His marriage would be witnessed by the god, therefore no one thought that he would have any regrets. In everyone's eyes, including Lulu herself, when she agreed to be Yunshi's fiancée, she had become his property. In Water God's world, A girl agreeing to marry a man meant that she had entrusted her life to the man. Therefore, a wedding was an extremely holy ceremony in all the people's hearts. The villagers ignited the bonfire. They drank and danced, showering their blessings on Lulu. It was an important event that would be recorded in the village's history. Isn't it too formal? It is just an engagement ceremony. Looking at people's happy faces, Yunshi suddenly felt that something was wrong. He felt that it was nothing like an engagement ceremony, but like a wedding ceremony. Yes, it's our engagement ceremony. Lulu's answer subtly made Yunshi misunderstand the ceremony. Lulu's dog ears shook due to excitement. In the light of the bonfire, Lulu raised her hand in front of all the villagers. Today is a special day. I will sign an engagement with our respectful apostle. From this day forward, for better for worse, for richer, for poorer, I will offer my loyalty to the great apostle till I return to the great water god's arms. From this day on, I will only be his wife. Praise water god, let us meet in the most beautiful place, in the most wonderful season, in my most fantastic age. After the great apostle held my hands, I have regarded him as my only husband. I want to stay with him forever. I want to lend him my power. Everyone, please bless us. After Lulu's brave announcement finished, the villagers under the dais all clapped their hands excitedly. They just witnessed the wedding of the most beautiful girl in the village. Moreover, the bridegroom was a legendary water god's apostle. Their marriage would be recorded and eulogized from generation to generation. My apostle, can we start the last ceremony? Lulu said shyly and lowered her head. What's the last ceremony? Yunshi looked at Lulu in confusion. He didn't know the reason, but he felt that Lulu looked very guilty, because she didn't dare to look at his face. Can you come a little closer? I will only let you hear it. Lulu looked at Yunshi expectantly. She subconsciously stood on her toes. Yunshi lowered his head. Unexpectedly, Lulu raised herself on tiptoe and kissed his mouth. It was totally unexpected. Yunshi's lips were covered by Lulu's mouth tightly. It was a sweet, hot and numb feeling. He even tasted a light herbal touch. It was Lulu's girl's flavor. Chapter 159, Ceremony. What, isn't she too bold? Feeling the temperature remaining on his lips, and looking at Lulu's watery eyes, Yunshi was suddenly at a loss. This world was too real. He smelt the bouquet of liquor in the air and looked at the cute pharmacist girl. He looked around. These people had self-consciousness. They weren't puppets. He could hear their laughter with his ears. He could see their happy faces with his eyes. Compared to the two dark worlds he had experienced before, this world was just like a wonderful, fantastic dream. My apostle, from now on, I'm your woman, Lulu said with a blush. Kissing Yoon, she had used up her guts. She never thought that she would do such a daring thing in her life, but she couldn't stop her irresistible impulse. According to tradition, the bridegroom should kiss his bride in that process. However, it seemed that Yoon she didn't know the traditional custom in their village, so she proactively kissed him. Great. Our Lulu got married. Ha ha, she was still a little girl not long ago. In the blink of an eye, she is already at the age of getting married. Lulu, you must be happy. The uncles cried, as if it was their daughter who got married today. Lulu's parents died when she was young. The villagers fed her together. From childhood, she had been a sensible girl. No one had seen her cry. After she could walk, she had started to help villagers with work. And after she discovered that she was talented in pharmaceutics, she studied harder than anyone. Today, Lulu would be married. Everyone blessed her and the kind water god's apostle, hoping that they could achieve happiness. Come here, Lulu. There is something you must learn today. Come here. We will teach you the necessary knowledge as a bride. He is an honorable water god's apostle. You must learn how to become more gentle. The aunts in the village waved their hands at Lulu. Lulu walked to them, blushing her face. She uneasily listened their words. After a while, her fingers crossed together. I have to do that. Lulu looked as if she was going to cry out. It was too difficult. It was too early for her. Not only that. You have also to do this. Yes, yes. He is water god's apostle. Besides, he is so handsome. He will have a lot of brides in the future. If you don't do your best, you will lose. Yes. Even though you have become water god's apostle's first bride and he doesn't mind your identity, you can't take a casual attitude. The girls who want to marry water god's apostle are as many as the reeds in the lake. At the same time, She was surrounded by a group of uncles. Come here, dear apostle. Perhaps this is the only opportunity in my life to drink with an apostle. This is the best grain wine in our village that has been stored in the cellar for 100 years. We were going to use it to pay tax, but who cares? Let's drink. Yes, yes. It doesn't matter. Mountain Lord can bless us, we don't need to worry about this year's harvest. Thank you, our great water god's apostle. Let's have a toast to our great water god's apostle. These villagers has regarded themselves as Lulu's family. They enthusiastically proposed a toast to Yunshi. Yunshi didn't have any experience in dealing with such a situation. Soon afterwards, he was already drunk. He didn't even notice that Little Moo had stealthily walked behind him. Roar! Looking at Yunshi's intoxicated look, Little Moo reached its paw and licked Yunshi's wine bowl. It was bitter and acrid. Why did humans like it? However, a minute later, Little Moo's eyes brightened up. What was this feeling? The tingling sensation on its tongue turned into luscious bouquet, spreading in its mouth slowly, then to its whole body. Good. Good. Very good. Interesting. Hiccup. Do you want to have a drink, Mountain Lord? The villagers were also drunk. They shouted, come on, come one. Propose a toast to our Mountain Lord. What? The best wine has been drunk up. Then take out all the wines we have. It's our duty to let our great Mountain Lord feel happy. The white tiger happily looked at the small wine jugs the villagers just carried here. They took off the lids and let the bouquet spread in the air. Roar. I have decided. The villagers don't need to offer me cows and sheep as sacrifices. I will only accept wines from now on. The white tiger held a wine jug with its two front paws. It licked and sucked, then the wine had been drunk up. The delicious liquid let it feel that it was in heaven. These humans were sensible and useful. The white tiger was drunk. It looked at the villagers with satisfaction and decided to take care of them in the future, so that they could offer it more wines. There are 3 of Little Moo. Yunshi didn't have a huge body like the white tiger and had been drinking a lot. In fact, he was drunk, but still forced himself to be awake by using his hero-ranked ability. It's time, Lulu. Go, show your weapon as a woman. Even though he is water god's apostle, no man can refuse your weapon. Lulu, you are our village's honor. It's time to prove yourself. These aunts just taught Lulu a lot of knowledge she had never learned from any book. She blushed, slowly walked to Yunshi and lifted him up. I'm gone. Lulu knew that the villagers were helping her. They made Yunshi drunk on purpose. Go, go. It will become a memorable night of yours. Sigh. Our Lulu will become a woman. Dear Apostle, please be good to Lulu. We don't dare to expect more except this. Even if you will have other brides in the future, don't forget our Lulu. Everyone looked at Lulu with an air of quiet understanding. 1/2 hour of a wedding night is worth 1,000 gold bars. We can't say it too clearly. Lulu's face was turning red. Don't tease me, everyone. Lulu lowered her head and supported Yunshi with her hands, leaving the bonfire as fast as she could. Roar. The white tiger was still drinking. The wine jugs beside it had been piled up like a hill. It would become a warm night. Chapter 160. The gap between their experiences. Yunshi didn't know when he had returned to the room. He had never drank so much wine before. If Lulu hadn't supported him with her arms, he would have toppled down to the ground. Yunshi slowly closed his eyes. Why was the world so real? Even the wine had an amazing effect. According to his judgment, this village should be a safety zone. He wouldn't need to worry about being attacked by enemies. Just like a night before the storm, the battle between the Sky Sword and Water God hadn't started yet. Gurgle. Yunshi heard the sound of flowing water. He vaguely opened his eyes and saw a foggy pool. Was it a hot spring? Master, let me help you take a bath, Lulu said shakily with courage. No, no. I can do it by myself, Yunshi muttered, trying to stop his titular fiancé's kindness. No, it's my duty as a wife. Lulu insisted, please let me help you. Yunshi hiccuped, and still shook his head. I'm going to start. Lulu ignored his refusal and started to take off his clothes. Yunshi finally realized something was wrong, but it was already too late. Lulu's soft hands had taken off Yunshi's clothes. Her face was red and hot, but her actions were unshrinking and fast. It's a wife's natural duty to help her husband to take a bath. I won't back down. Remembering what she was taught just now, Lulu ground her teeth and started to help Yunshi scrub his back. Under the stimulation of the warm water, Yunshi had no energy to stop her. He couldn't help and had to lie on the rock beside the hot spring. Lulu only wrapped a big bath towel around her body. Her smooth skin, snow-white feet, and the top half of her breasts were all exposed in front of Yunshi's eyes. Especially her cute, seductive appearance, which made her look like a mellow fruit that could be picked off at any time in Yunshi's eyes. Master, Yunshi's scorching eyes cooked Lulu's face red. Her ears shook and her gog-like tail wagged, which made Yunshi barely move his eyes away. If you don't mind, this place. I can. Lulu gazed at Yunshi with her expectant and nervous eyes. No, you are still too small. Even though Yunshi was drunk, he still firmly remembered that he shouldn't do anything to Lulu. She was just his titular fiancée in this world. It was a temporary relationship to help her and to achieve the goals of the strange quest to love, Starchild. If he did something to Lulu under such circumstances, he would really become a scum. Lulu isn't small. Lulu pouted, then secretly looked at her own breasts. Oh, they were really very small. At this time, she really hoped that she could obtain the legendary multi-headed dragon's blood to make her breasts become bigger. Gee! What was multi-headed dragon's blood? Lulu was suddenly at a loss. She was absorbed in thought. Just now, some memories suddenly appeared in her mind. She suddenly remembered something about sword skills and the information about the multi-headed dragon. What was wrong with her? Never mind. She shook her head. Tonight was her wedding night. She must go a step forward with the respectful apostle. The respectful apostle said that she was too small to do that thing. Did it mean that she was allowed to do everything except that thing? Yes, it must be right. I'm smart. Come on, Lulu. You can do it. Lulu seriously looked at Yunshi's face, then kissed his lips again. At the same time, she purposely pressed her small but soft breasts on his chest. Lulu put her tongue into Yunshi's mouth and rubbed against his tongue. Although Yunshi was drunk, his body instinctively reacted. His nimble tongue subconsciously touched Lulu's tongue, reacting to her action with enthusiasm. Yunshi had learned well-developed kissing skills from his childhood sweethearts. How could Lulu be Yunshi's opponent? Soon afterwards, she had become breathless and befuddled, and couldn't stop herself groaning. Feeling the sweet, gentle touches, her heartbeat echoed in the silent hot spring. They were so close that could feel each other's breaths. Their tongues tempted them, from the shallower to the deeper, till out of control. Lulu's chest heaved as she gasped for breath. Her breaths could be heard clearly, and her skin had turned pink. Was this the necessary process to become a bride? Feeling the thrilling sensation in her body, she felt a little afraid and wanted to run away. However, it was too late. Her tongue was tangling with Yunshi's tongue. How could she say anything? Her watery eyes gazed at Yunshi, communicating her shyness and anxiety, but Yunshi didn't see it. He kissed her ears, neck, cheeks. When Lulu finally left Yunshi's arms in disorder, Yunshi had almost kissed her whole body. Woo-hoo, aunts. It was too embarrassing. Sorry. I couldn't hold on. Lulu worried about her immature personality. Sure enough, the great apostle was the one who had rich experience. She was just an inexperienced girl. The gap between them was too wide. Chapter 161, Sky Sword O. My head hurts. Yunshi's eyes were stimulated by the morning sunshine. He gazed at the unfamiliar ceiling with a lifeless look. Where is this? Who am I? Why am I at this place? Where will I go? After a few moments, Yunshi finally remembered everything. This was Water God's fantasy island. He was here to take his star trial. Now, he had become Water God's apostle and obtained his first engagement contract in the first village, and had also opened the fourth side quest to love, Starchild. At the same time, he also had an ultimate quest to find the most excellent bride for Water God. Oh, I was drunk. I don't believe that it was something I did. Yunshi only remembered a few things happened last night. He slept after he went to the hot spring. After that, he remembered that something ambiguous happened. He could remember Lulu's snow-white feet and her sweet lips. Lulu, was the girl Lulu? What an indiscreet experience. Yunshi smiled bitterly at his blurry memories of last night. I shouldn't drink too much. Master, are you awake? Lulu sat beside Yunshi and handed him a bowl of hangover cure soup. Don't be so timid. You can be more outgoing. Yunshi sensitively noticed that Lulu had a look of self-contempt, as if she had suffered some huge blow last night. I'm just a childish girl. It's my luck to marry you. Remembering her experience last night, she felt embarrassed. The gap between their experiences was too wide. As his bride, she actually ran away in fright last night. Master, how many females have you experienced? As was expected, even though the great apostle hadn't married, his experience was still far richer than hers. Well, I want to sleep a little longer. Yunshi was defeated by Lulu's innocent eyes. He hid into the warm folded quilt. Wake up, master. The other apostle is waiting for you, Lulu said. She knocked Yunshi's pillow with her medicine pestle. Yun-Q, has he come back? Yunshi knew that he couldn't pretend to be asleep. He hadn't forgotten his quest of investigating the nearby villages. Yes. He wants to see you as soon as possible. Lulu gazed at Yunshi's mask, and suddenly had a bad presentiment in her heart. She felt that something would be changed. I see. Yunshi stretched himself. Let me help you put on your clothes. Lulu gently pressed on Yunshi's shoulders and helped him wear clothes that were made by hers. Because it was clothes made by using the materials from old clothes, they didn't look like new clothes, but were very suitable for Yunshi's body shape. Master, gazing at Yunshi's back, Lulu indulged in her memories. In fact, they were her father's clothes. However, she couldn't even remember her father's face, because he passed away too early. The only thing he left in the world was this old clothes. What's wrong with the clothes? Yunshi looked at himself. It seemed that they were traditional clothes. Its sleeves were white and the cuffs were sewed with black patterns. No, nothing, Lulu said and shook her head, then pushed Yunshi's shoulders. Master, go do your things. No matter what are you going to do, I will support you. Thanks. Yunshi patted Lulu's shoulders, then turned around and left. In the village chief's house, Yunshi saw Yun-Q, who had just returned from a nearby village. She seriously gazed at him and said, We have a problem. What happened? You couldn't find suitable brides for Water God? Yunshi looked at Yun-Q in confusion. No. It's going well. Look, this is the list of candidates. Yun-Q handed over the second scroll she made to Yunshi. She is. Yunshi opened the scroll and immediately noticed a girl's portrait. The smiling girl couldn't be anyone except for Ling. He didn't expect that he would see another Starwings Knight's girl so early. Gold will shine everywhere. They were excellent girls. Even though they had lost their memories, they were still the cutest girls in this world. It wasn't surprising to see them becoming the most suitable candidates in their villages. Ling, a third-ranked female swordsman, 17 years old. Reading the information on the scroll, Yunshi felt that he would have his second fiancée soon. Are you going to do something to her? Yun-Q noticed Yunshi's strange look, then said in disdain, Look at yourself. Weren't you too freewheeling last night? Lulu is only 16 years old. I know you are not a man who knows how to control your desire, but we are looking for the suitable bride for Water God. Can you restrain your shameless, salacious character during this period of time? I think that I'm an upright gentleman. She innocently looked at Yun Q, not understanding why she was so angry. Puff. Yun Q drew in a deep breath, then said something serious. Even though the apostle named Yun Hai was a helpless, estrus scum, but his combat power was strong. She couldn't ignore his combat record of defeating the Mountain Lord, although she didn't think that it could prove why Water God would choose him as its apostle. He was just a shameless thief inside. I have found out who the Sky Sword is. What? She was shocked. He didn't expect that he would meet with the most terrible enemy in this trial so soon. It was a Sky Sword. A legend at the top of the whole Sky Sword God's domain. Who is the Sky Sword? Jealousness, a non-human Sky Sword. 300 years ago, she defeated the previous 10th Sky Sword and replaced the Sky Sword's ranking. She is a strong Sky Sword who stands a chance to become one of the top 3 Sky Swords. Before she became a Sky Sword, she was called Slime Sword Master. Chapter 162, Slime's Legend. Slime Sword Master? She had never heard of such a strange title. Of course, maybe it was just because he was too ignorant. He didn't have any way to have heard of it in the small village he was born in. Most people in White Lotus Sword Domain only knew that Yun Hai the Swordmaster was a Sky Sword. To them, other Sky Swords were just like some distant legends. Yes. Come with me. Looking at Shi's face, Yun Q knew that he knew nothing about Jealousness, the most terrible newborn Sky Sword. Sometimes, a Sky Sword's ranking couldn't represent his true strength, because most of them were born in different eras and hadn't fought with each other. Then what was the standard people used to rank them? Other than the 3 Sky Swords who were recorded to have killed a god, people judged other Sky Swords by their fame during their eras. As a newborn Sky Sword, Jealousness hadn't had sufficient time to accumulate her fame. However, it was undoubtedly a top-class Sky Sword. Yes, generally, people thought that Jealousness was an it and not a he nor a she. It was due to her race, slime. It was neither male nor female, nor was it a fantasy creature. It didn't even have parents, naturally it didn't have a name. It was said that her true body was a green slime. Jealousness wasn't its original name. It was a name it inherited from a girl it had swallowed. It was said that this Sky Sword had a terrible natural ability, unlimited division, and it could eat anything. If it was angry, it could even swallow a whole world. As a 10 Leaves Alliance elite, Yun Q had read about the Slime Sky Sword's records. It was too exaggerated to say that it could eat a whole world, but it really had eaten a whole race. It was cruel and merciless, and had strong aggression. If it considered one as its enemy, no one could escape, no matter if it was a human, a city, or even a race. Yun Q had even read the Slime Sword Master's diary through a secret method. The diary recorded a part of its mood, which looked pretty messy and complicated. Tear off the surface, nothing in the world is unintelligible. Disinteresting, unpleasant, chaotic stuffs. Cry, tangle, confession, want to provoke my fond. How to describe my mood? Even to this day, I can't give an answer. I find that I'm a despicable creature. Noise, noise. So bored, so bored, so bored. Can't help it. I'm not good at handling relationships. I'm not happy. Too shallow. I'm bored. However, I hate to be eliminated. If I can't become the most popular one, I will find it unbearable. After all, I hate to be defeated. Even if I'm dirty and foul, even if I had to lie, if I can't look down on the earth, I will lose the meaning of my life. No calculation. No aversion. Enjoy the fruits after the people. She said that other people's happiness is my happiness. Is she an angel? Treated everyone equally and gently. I can't pray for her. I love her. I want to hear her cry. I want to make her cry. It is a good thing. But it is very important. I want to see her smile. It's unbelievable. I hate myself. Maybe I'm in love. Say yes and mean no. I thought this thing in my heart and did that thing. I couldn't do it. I was helpless. Today, the world is as ugly and beautiful as usual. I can't leave her alone. Therefore, I will keep going. I must become strong. To be honest, Yun Q didn't really understand what she had read. She only saw indifferent and arrogant through the words, which made her feel cold from the bottom of her heart. It was said that the slime liked a girl named Jealousness, but finally, it ate her and inherited her name. In addition to the female body it often used, the slime sky sword also had various avatars, which were all inherited from the creatures it had eaten. Multi-headed blindworm, mountain-like old dragon, three-headed mutated golden dragonhawk. After the slime sword master became a sky sword, the strong beings it had eaten could be written into a long list. Even the 10 Leaves Alliance couldn't figure out how many creatures the slime sky sword had eaten and how strong it had become now. Apart from the 3 strongest sky swords, Jealousness, who insisted that its title was Slime Sky Sword, was the last enemy Yun-Q wanted to face because she could think of no way to defeat it. Even though slime was a kind of small and weak monster, but it was a slime that had been recognized as a sky sword. It had become an insoluble bug. As for the reason, one would know it after seeing it. Look, this is the omen of the sky swords coming. Yun-Q took Yun-Shi to a stream that was close to the village. She pointed at several water-drop-like creatures and said in a serious tone, "Aren't they slimes?" Looking at the several weak monsters which could even be killed by ordinary people, Yun-Shi couldn't imagine the relationship between them and the sky sword. The several slimes had green skin and did not look sticky but very cute. He even had an impulse to poke and pinch them in his hands. Yes, they are the problem. They are the sky sword's avatars, containing endless evolution ability. Today, you only see several lower-level slimes which can even be killed by ordinary villagers easily, but soon afterwards, there will be more and more mutated slimes. No matter how many slimes you have killed, there will always be more and more of them. Metal slime, ruby slime, emerald slime, fire slime, dark slime, holy slime. Till the golden slime king is born, then everything will end. Yun-Q shook her head and continued, Golden Slime King can transform itself into all kinds of creatures, including dragons and other rare fantasy creatures. And Jealousness the Sky Sword is even more terrible than any Golden Slime King. It is the child of the whole slime race, it isn't even inferior to the Great Water God. Chapter 163, 3 Phases. From what I know, the omen of Slime Sky Sword's coming is composed of 3 phases, Yun-Q said. The first phase is the birth of green slimes. At first, there will only be several slimes. Gradually, there will be dozens of slimes, hundreds of slimes, thousands of slimes. In a month, the world will have thousands of different slimes. At first, the slimes are harmless. They don't attack any living beings and only do their best to find and absorb nutrient substance to replicate themselves. At this time, the process is still under control, Yun-Q said in a serious tone. However, in the second step, elite slimes will be born amongst the green slimes. The proportion is 100:1. Elite slimes don't look different from ordinary green slimes, but they can naturally form a mental network amongst each other, connecting the whole slime race in the world. The principle of the mental network is still unknown, but its goal is to accelerate Jealousness's birth. As the mental network collects more and more energy, stronger and more stronger slimes will be born and twist the world's rules. Finally, after the birth of the Golden Slime King, the third phase will start. Speaking of this, Yun-Q paused for a while. Even though 10 Leaves Alliance had only collected this much information. In the third phase, Jealousness will be born in the world, then she will control or destroy the world. Her other abilities and her Sky Sword are still unknown. Sky Sword was the title presented to the strongest swordsman in Sky Sword God's domain, however, it was also a sword's name. All the Sky Swords had their own Sky Swords. Of course, Jealousness had her Sky Sword. However, 10 Leaves Alliance failed to collect her Sky Sword's information, as if it didn't exist. It was inconsequent, because if Jealousness didn't have a Sky Sword, she wouldn't be recognized as a Sky Sword. Besides, according to my judgment, as long as there is still a slime left in the world, Jealousness won't die. Even if we eliminate all the slimes in the world, she will only be driven out of the world but not be killed. From the beginning, she was in an unassailable position. Yun-Q knew the Sky Sword very well. Naturally, she didn't really think that Water God's camp could win. Fortunately, she knew that her quest wasn't to defeat the Sky Sword but to find the most beautiful bride for Water God. It was the only good news. If her quest was to defeat Jealousness the slime sky sword, her percentage of winning would undoubtedly be 0. She wasn't at the same level as the sky sword. Just let water god worry about the world's future, she thought. What a terrible sky sword. She finally understood what a terrible enemy they would face. It was the child of slime race and would never die as long as there was still a slime left in the universe. Moreover, it could reproduce and divide itself endless times, and could become stronger by swallowing its enemy. It was as strong as an evil god. Wait. Its properties. She suddenly had a vague idea in his heart, but failed to remember it. Therefore, what can we do? She shook his head and looked at the several green slimes. He had vaguely guessed at what Q would do. Of course, kill them all. In the first phase, there is still an opportunity to take advantage of it. If the second phase starts and the slimes form a mental network, it will be too late, Q said decisively. She had taken off her black bow from her back. I will clean this area and you go clean that area. Don't leave any of them alive. We must eliminate all the green slimes we can see. Even if we can't stop Jealousness's coming, at least, we can do our best to delay the time. Now, killing time. After publishing The Quest of Slimes Must Die to Q drew her bow. She shot 16 tracking arrows to those cute green slimes at the same time and accurately detonated their bodies. As the result, only several pools of green liquid remained on the ground. No, something is wrong. She agreed to Q's judgment, but he didn't think that this method would be useful. Anyone could figure out this method of stopping Jealousness. However, Q had also said that Jealousness had never been defeated before. Was it possible that no one had used this method before? Even ordinary people could kill these green slimes. You should leave now. Go kill the slimes in other areas, Q ordered. Her every arrow was accurate and deathful, not letting those green slimes obtain even a slight chance to revive. After obtaining Water God's mask, she didn't need to worry about the number of her arrows. She could create arrows by using her blood, which were more handy, manageable and withdrawable. She had understood how to use her ability of blood control to the limit. Okay, I will go to other areas. She summoned the mists around him and slowly flew away. Q was right. He could see green slimes in the forest, beside the stream and on the mountains. Judging from these slimes' appearances, these green jello-like little creatures were indeed harmless. They didn't even eat plants. They could live within moist mists, soil and rotten leaves. In a way, they were even inferior to herbivores. It seemed that they also didn't have wits, because they didn't resist when they were eaten by other animals. After eating several slimes, animals gave up eating them, because they were too squishy and didn't have flesh and blood. They tasted just like water. After being ignored by various animals, these green slimes still kept wandering around the forest and jumping up and down besides the stream. Chapter 164. Yunshi's decision. Looking at the green slimes who were basking in the sun and eating soil, it was hard to believe that these lazy and lowly creatures were a sky sword's avatars. Yunshi hadn't known that a non-human creature could become a sky sword before. He imagined what kind of character this sky sword had. At least, when Yunshi caught a living slime and poked its warm and soft skin, he didn't have any hostility in his heart. Should he let go of these slimes? Anyway, according to what Q said, as long as Jealousness's avatars appeared in the world, her coming was already an established fact. In this world, only Water God was a match for Jealousness. From the beginning, they didn't have the power to interfere in a war between two gods. Moreover, Water God hadn't commanded them to fight against the Sky Sword. Can there be a way to stop these slimes without killing them? Yunshi was lost in thought as he looked at these green slimes. In his previous trials, no matter if it was the Green Hippo or the furious Stone Soldier army, he had only needed to think about how to eliminate them with his maximum efficiency. He hadn't needed to think too much when he was struggling for survival. Cut across blood and death was his only choice to keep moving. However, it wasn't a good choice in this world. He didn't have to kill someone here, because there wasn't an enemy that was threatening his life, apart from the white tiger when it was controlled by some unknown secret skill. Even Jealousness, the most terrible enemy in this world, was still just some feeble lower-level slimes at this moment. He had various choices. He had various futures. Perhaps this was the real purpose of his star trial. There wasn't a decided result. Every choice he made would lead him to a different future. In that case, although I'm in Water God's camp, I don't have to choose to hurt you. However, I also can't just let you keep dividing. She had made his choice. He didn't know which future this choice would lead him to, but he wouldn't regret it. If these slimes kept dividing, it would finally lead to an unmanageable result. Since that was so, he would do his best to stop them. As if there was a god that was arranging his fate in the unseen world, Yunshi's mask coincidentally could solve this problem. His mask could let him control water, and 99% of these slimes' bodies were water. Naturally, he could dominate these feeble slimes. Although Yunqi's mask offered her stronger attack power, she couldn't control these slimes, because they didn't have blood in their bodies. Become a part of me. Yunshi reached out his hand to perform his ability. A lot of mist flocked to these slimes. Soon afterwards, these slimes became smaller and smaller, finally were compressed to dust-like particles. Yunshi didn't kill them, but he had extracted the water out of their bodies. Even though his ability was irrational and inexplicable in ordinary people's eyes, it was indeed his hero-ranked power. It was the reason why only a person who had crossed the barrier between the third rank and the fourth could be called hero, because the person had overcome all worldly thoughts and entered sainthood. Only after that could one obtain their extraordinary power. Magic, divine spells, Taoist technology, alchemy. No matter what power you were learning and which god's domain you were in, only hero-ranked beings could be recognized by the world and explore the greater secrets in the world. The water mist Yunshi's mask offered him contained a part of Water God's power. It was a hero-ranked ability that could control mist in a wide range. After being compressed, the polymer of hundreds of green slimes wasn't even bigger than a rice grain. Yunshi held them in his hand and could barely feel their weight. Not bad. In this case, the efficiency should be better than to kill them all. Yunshi let out a sigh of relief after making sure that the green, rice grain-like polymer was still alive. At first, it was just one of Yunshi's guesses. He didn't really expect that Water God's mask could let him do it. No wonder that it was a hero-ranked ability. It was too amazing. After that, Yunshi controlled the mists around him and compressed all the slimes he could see. His efficiency was very high. Compared to Yunqiu, who had to kill slimes one by one, Yunshi was 10 times faster than her. Not bad. It seems that you are not good for nothing. Yunqiu expressed her satisfaction with Yunshi's speed. Although he was inferior, shameless, and salacious, and actually dared to reach out his sinful hands to his fiancée, but at least, his combat power was reliable. His ability to eliminate all the slimes within a large area, in fact, Yunshi just compressed and hid them, was a necessary ability they needed currently. In that case, they should be able to greatly delay Shea Longness the Sky Sword's arrival time. Taking this opportunity, she needed to collect the information about all the unmarried girls in the nearby villages. She didn't have time to take a rest. She must hurry. Time is life. After making sure that Yunqiu had left, Yunshi gazed at a green gem in his hand with a curious look. The green gem wasn't bigger than his little finger. It was the polymer of the thousands of green slimes Yunshi had compressed. He hadn't expected that after he caught them all, they naturally merged together, and finally formed the beautiful green gem. No, gem wasn't a precise word to describe it. It just looked like a gem, but wasn't as cold as a common gem. On the contrary, it was warm, soft, and flexible, just like a girl's skin. How to describe his feeling precisely? In Yunshi's memory, the most similar thing was one of the things on a girl's chest. Cough. Yunshi shook his head. He put the green gem into his pocket and returned to the village. Master, you are back. Lulu was studying the etiquette of being a wife. She immediately put down her pestle and ran to Yunshi. In fact, Lulu, there is something I have to tell you. Yunshi hesitated, but finally said, maybe I will get my second fiancé soon. Chapter 165, Bride Expansion Plan Master, which girl in the village will you marry? Lulu looked at Yunshi with curiosity. Gee, Why this reaction? Yoon-shi thought that after hearing his words, Lulu would feel aggrieved and would probably cry. After all, she didn't remember that she was a member of his Starwings Night and was just an ordinary girl living in the village now. Let me guess, except me, the girls in the village. Lulu counted her fingers. No, she doesn't belong to this village. Yoon-shi shook his head and said, she is a girl in a nearby village, and her name is Ling Ling. Ling Ling. Lulu's face changed. She was surprised. Master, have you seen Ling Ling? No, not yet. Yoon-shi looked at Lulu awkwardly. Master, Ling Ling is a prideful girl. If you want her to be your new fiancée, there may be some problems. Do you need me to persuade her? Lulu threw out her chest, and the expression on her face looked as if she was saying, I can solve this minor issue for you. Come on, praise me. What's wrong with this world? Why is my fiancé willing to help me propose to another girl? Don't you feel sad? Yoon-shi thought that this world's tradition was totally different from the real world he knew. Master, you are an excellent water god's apostle. It's your natural obligation to marry a lot of girls. It's already my good luck to be your first bride. So, I know I'm still naive and can't be a match for you now, but I will do my best to let you enjoy a happy life. Master, isn't a bride the woman who should support the person she likes? Lulu looked at Yoon-shi's eyes with sincerity. Her eyes were bright, seemingly saying that she firmly believed that it was an honored occurrence to marry a lot of girls. You are a good girl. Yoon-shi could neither cry nor laugh. In this world, it was a natural thing for a strong male to marry a lot of girls. In the eyes of the public, Yoon-hai was a great, hero-ranked apostle. If he insisted that he would only marry a single girl, it would be regarded as a crime in their eyes. Even though Ling Ling was a prideful girl, she would feel satisfied to be the apostle's fiancée. Lulu thought in her heart. This thing, there is no hurry. We don't have to be hasty. Yoon-shi couldn't stand Lulu's innocent eyes any longer. He felt that he was committing a crime. Fortunately, he only signed an engagement with her. As long as the star trial finished, she would return to the original girl in Starwings Night. As for proposing to Ling Ling, it was also a part of Yoon-shi's plan. The side quest to love, Starchild, was his only way to increase his strength in this trial world as far as he knew. As a member of Water God's camp, he was doomed to fight against the humans' camp, which would have Shea Longness the Sky Sword as their strongest combat power. In that case, he must improve his power as soon as possible. At the same time, he was also investigating the other quests. He wanted to find out the secret hiding behind the endless mist, the existence of apostles, and the hidden quest, which would only appear after he had finished the 3 side quests. Of course, he wouldn't give up on completing the main quest. Yoon-kyu was looking for water gods' brides through a wide range of investigations, and he would focus on the special girls he could find. Lulu in the first village, Ling Ling in the nearby village, and the girls of Starwings Night who would be found in other villages were all Yoon-shi's targets. However, can they really become water gods' bride candidates? Yoon-shi felt that Yoon-kyu and he had missed something. Water God desired change. It wanted to find a turning point to change the world. Was this great god really looking for the most beautiful girl? Would it be that simple? What did Water God's bride mean to the world that was dominated by Water God? Anyway, let me finish the first side quest. I will name it as Bride Expansion Plan. Thinking over carefully, Yoon-shi finally made the decision. Since he couldn't just see the girls of Starwings Night becoming Water God's brides, therefore, he would propose to them all so that they would be exempted from the list of bride candidates. Lulu was the first. Ling Ling would be the second. Of course, Who Are You, Xiao Kao, Mai Lan, and the other girls, none of them could be left out. Since they were involved into Water God's world due to him, he must take his responsibility. However, there was an insoluble problem with his plan. Will they accept my proposal? I am Water God's apostle in this world, and they don't know me. Will they really accept a stranger's propose? Gazing at the pounding green gem in his hand, Yoon-shi was at a loss. The stars wouldn't give him a quest that he would be unable to complete. As the only side quest he could do currently, there must be a way to achieve it. For this reason, even if they refused him, he must propose to them again and again, till he was accepted by them and obtained their powers. Lulu, can I do it? Finally, Yunshi asked Lulu, the first girl who accepted his propose. Yes, master, you can do it. You can believe in me. You are an excellent, charismatic man. No girl can refuse your proposal. Please trust your wife. Lulu answered Yunshi seriously. She gasped her hands and made a decision in her heart. She must do her best to help Yunshi achieve his goal. Chapter 166, Side Quest 4. I hadn't expected that I would need to learn how to propose someday. Looking at the green gem on his fingertip, Yunshi felt that there must be something wrong with this world. He had prepared himself to die hundreds of times to challenge the most terrible monsters in Water God's world. However, there was no such monster that he needed to defeat, or at least, the enemy hadn't appeared up till now. Jealousness, the Sky Sword, was still in her primary form. Even ordinary people could kill the green slimes easily. Using the power from his Water God's mask, he had easily collected thousands of Jealousness avatars, and the green gem aggregated by green slimes was shaking on his fingertip. You are a part of the Sky Sword's avatars? It's really hard to imagine. Pinching and rubbing the green gem, Yunshi felt that it had a very smooth feeling, like a girl's skin. The green gem jumped around in Yunshi's hand and seemingly it wouldn't escape. Probably its intelligence wasn't able to support its understanding of the meaning of escape. A slime wasn't a creature that lived by its speed, defense, or attack. It was simply because it could divide itself infinitely and could survive in any area. One can find ice slime on ice-capped mountains. One can find lava slime in lava lakes in volcanoes. One can find sand slime in dry deserts. One can find deep-sea slime in places that were 10,000 meters deep under the sea. Thinking it over carefully, the slime race wasn't strong. However, no matter how harsh the environment was, the slime race could produce subspecies to suit the environment. If it wasn't because the slime race didn't have too many strong individual units, probably they would be able to rise amongst all kinds of races. No. In fact, slime race was rising because they had had their race's child, Jealousness, the Sky Sword, who was already as strong as a god. As a non-human being, she had been recognized as a Sky Sword. This fact itself had shown how strong she was and what great talent she had. In fact, it was too difficult for Yunshi to deal with such an enemy now. However, no matter how difficult it was, Yunshi wouldn't use it as an excuse to run away. So, if I want to survive, the only choice is to propose to the girls. Yunshi thought again and again. The meaning of this trial had gradually become clearer in his mind. From the sleeping beauty in his newbie trial, to the princess imprisoned in the tall tower in his formal trial, then to the side quest in this trial, he guessed that the stars were teaching him how to love. Unlike the previous trials, in this world, his goal had been expanded to dozens of times bigger. This time, he had to propose to all the Starwings knights. I can become stronger and stronger through proposing and there isn't a limit. Yunshi acutely realized the key point to achieve his quests in this world. Yunshi could overlap his power with other people's powers infinitely. This was a striking property. Habitually, Yunshi used his best-known unit, Green Hippo, as the measurement criteria. A hero-ranked person could slaughter 100 green hippos as easily as winking, but it didn't mean that the person's power was 100 times stronger than the green hippo's power. Overlapping a person's power to another person wasn't simply equal to 1 + 1. For example, it wasn't easy for an ordinary person to beat the 10-second barrier in 100-meter dash. However, if an ordinary person could overlap his strength with another person's strength, the person would even be able to beat the 8-second barrier easily. The change in quantity causes the change in quality. If Yunshi's strength was 2 times stronger than the green hippo he faced in his newbie trial, then he could beat down dozens of green hippos at the same time. Once the limit was broken, he could become an invincible god of war. Yunshi counted how strong he would become after he obtained all the girls' powers. He was shocked by the calculation. He probably wouldn't be strong enough to defeat Jealousness at that time, but he would still reach a realm that was beyond his imagination. Moreover, Side Quest 4 didn't have an upper limit, which meant that he could propose to as many girls as he wanted. Theoretically, he would finally be able to fight against the Sky Sword. Of course, it was just a theory. Yunshi didn't know how strong the Sky Sword was, and how many girls' powers he would need to obtain before he could defeat the Sky Sword. At the least, it wouldn't be sufficient if he only proposed to the Starwings Knight's girls. He didn't know how many strong beings were in Water God's world. However, if there was a legend-ranked unmarried female and she accepted his proposal, he would stand a chance. Is there really such a strong female existing in this world? Isn't this a bug? After obtaining Water God's mask, Yunshi felt that the power he could use now was already very exaggerated. However, Side Quest 4 had let him realize that if he could understand how to love and how to propose to a lot of girls, even the 4th rank would become just a starting point for him. Chapter 167. How to Propose is Learn to Love More Effective Than Death Battle. Looking at the Side Quest 4, Yunshi fell in doubt. It was hard to believe. However, it seemed that the stars really thought that Learn to Love was more effective. They even reminded him through such an obvious method. If he wanted to survive in future battles and finish the other quests, the basic principle was to finish Side Quest 4 first. To love, then become strong enough to experience the death battle. The star's love was too heavy, to the extent that Yunshi wanted to cry. In fact, I don't want to propose to so many girls. I want to be an upright gentleman. However, it seemed that the stars didn't think so. In that case, even though Yunshi had obtained his Water God's mask and could control the mist in this world, he still needed to do Side Quest 4 to strengthen himself. In order to achieve that, he had to ask for his first fiancée's help. The next morning, Yunshi found Lulu. You mean, you want to know the etiquette and instructions for proposing? Looking at Yunshi, who had just finished the wedding ceremony, and Yunshi still thought that it was just an engagement ceremony, with her, Lulu's face turned red. In fact, Master, you don't need to be too concerned. You are a great apostle. As long as you ask, there would be many girls who want to marry you. Oh, right, the other girls in the village also have feelings for you. Master, do you want maidservants? No. I need fiancés, no, brides. Yunshi looked at Lulu awkwardly. Why could he only finish the Side Quest 4 through this method? Normally, in order to become stronger, shouldn't he wash his body under the waterfall, brandish his sword in water to increase his stamina, or sit in meditation on the summit? Of course, Master, an excellent man like you deserve to have excellent brides. Let me introduce the customs in this area. The most common method to look for lovers is to take part in the ceremony, which will be held regularly by several villages together. If a man wants to propose to a girl, he will give the girl a gift during the ceremony. If the girl receives the gift, the man will have an opportunity. The more expensive or rare the gift is, the more sincerity and respect the man is showing. Of course, the social status gap between the man and the girl is also very important. However, once the man promises to marry the girl, there is no turning back. Lulu smiled and continued, Master, you are a Water God's apostle. Your engagement has the highest level. Therefore, even if you don't give a girl a gift and only make a verbal contract with her, both of you won't regret, otherwise, it will be regarded as an irreverence to the great Water God. En. Ceremony, activity, the gathering place for young boys and girls. Gift, important, special, engagement, betrothal gifts, witness, marriage contract. Yunshi took out a notepad and recorded the main points Lulu explained on it. After recording them, Yunshi suddenly found that the engagement between Lulu and him didn't meet the common sense in this world. It was just a spur of the moment. He proposed to Lulu simply because she was a member of Starwings Night. Before that, they hadn't met each other nor had they loved. He behaved like a scum who cheated her and took advantage of her difficulties. It wasn't right. It was wrong. Lulu wasn't his childhood sweetheart. Even in Starwings Night, she was just a girl who longed for Mai but not Yunshi. Even though she wouldn't remember what happens in this world after the trial finished, shouldn't he feel guilty for cheating this innocent girl? Sorry, did I miss too many things? I haven't prepared a gift for you, Yunshi said, but Lulu suddenly covered his mouth with her hand. No. It's enough. Haven't you had given me a most precious gift? Mountain Lord's hair is a priceless treasure. You gave it to me and it let me become a third-ranked pharmacist. Nothing could be better than it. I'm satisfied. You are really a good girl. Looking at Lulu's smiling face, Yunshi felt even more guilty. Sigh. If it wasn't because Side Quest 4 was his only opportunity to fight against the Sky Sword, he wouldn't want to do it. Come here, master. These are the fruits I just picked. Let me feed you. Lulu said. She had known Yunshi's goal. Since the great apostle wanted to marry a lot of girls, then as his first fiancé, she needed to help him. As for why he wanted so many brides, wasn't it a matter of course that a man like the great apostle wanted to have a lot of descendants? The world wasn't as peaceful as what it seemingly was. Disaster could strike at any time. Even in this ordinary village, people did their best to produce descendants in case that unexpected disaster would deplete the number of villagers. Strong people were respected by everyone because they could protect ordinary people. And water gods' apostles were the people who were at the top of the social class in this world because they could listen and relay the great water god's words. They were God's spokesmen. They were the people's heroes. Each of them had the power to change the world. As an ordinary girl who was proposed to by such a great man, it must be her destiny, Lulu thought in her heart. Therefore, it was her responsibility to help him achieve his goal because she liked the way the great apostle was very much. Chapter 168, Lulu's Love Diary. When I first saw him, he was riding on the formidable, godlike Mountain Lord's back. Our village is located in the mountains and needs a 3 days walk to reach the nearest city. Mountain Lord was the greatest, most terrible creature they had ever seen. Mountain Lord was water god's subordinate and didn't eat humans, and its existence itself was enough to make the villagers feel reverence. Therefore, the villagers continued to offer it sacrifices even during the most difficult of days. There were countless legends about Mountain Lord in the village. It was said that Mountain Lord was hundreds of years old and had defeated a lot of hero-ranked creatures who had tried to occupy this area. Mountain Lord had invulnerable fur, could bathe in fires and leap over mountain streams easily. Mountain Lord liked to eat beef. It only ate the beef from cattle that were about 1 year old. Ever since Lulu could remember, the villagers had told her countless times that no one should provoke Mountain Lord or walk close to its lair. Mountain Lord was sacrosanct in the villagers' eyes. Till that day when 2 people who were greater than Mountain Lord arrived in this village. They were water god's apostles, the spokesman of the great god, the people that were longed for by all intelligent beings. No one dared to pretend to be an apostle. Only the people who were chosen by water god could wear water god's mask. At that moment, all the villagers understood that the most honorable guests had come. Lulu didn't know the reason, but when she saw the man who wore the silver mask, her heart couldn't stop pounding. Why? They had never seen each other before, but she felt close to the honorable apostle she had just seen. She had a feeling that she knew this man, even before she was born in this world. However, it was impossible. Both his broad shoulders and mature temperament had hinted that the apostle was far older than her. Compared to him, she was just like a child. When she was asked to be water god's bride, she was really scared, because nobody in the world knew what would happen after becoming water god's bride. Water god was the only supreme god in the world. Even though over 90% people in the world believed in water god, but no one had really seen the god with their eyes. To mortals, the god was just a distant, untouchable symbol, and only the god's apostles walked around the world to preach the god's will. She was afraid that she would never return to the mortal world after marrying water god. He must have seen her frightened face and thought that she was a naive girl who couldn't be left alone, so he proposed to her to protect her in this way. She knew it. She knew that she was pitied and protected. However, she also knew that she had fallen in love with the apostle, who did his best to help her. He felt the weakness in her heart, and stretched out a helping hand. She was too immature compared to the gentle apostle. When he proposed to Lulu, she froze. What should I do? Is my expression strange? Will he think that I'm a weird girl? Why am I so immature? Wooer. When he held my hands, I found out that his hands were very large, and his expression was steadfast. Is this what an adult should become? Compared to him, Lulu thought that she was too indecisive. She stayed awake the whole night and pondered again and again. No, how can a girl like me make him like me? Why aren't I a mature lady? If so, I would have the guts to answer him freely and bravely. What? The apostles were going to leave. They would go to other villages to choose new candidates for water god. Why? I haven't given him my answer. Was it because my indecision disappointed him? No, it wasn't due to her. Lulu knew it. To the great apostles, water god's will was the most important thing. This village was just the first station on their journey. From the beginning, I shouldn't have felt hopeful to become the great apostle's bride. Lulu thought in her heart. However, it wasn't the end. I needed to tell him my answer. Even if he rejected me, I should let him know my heart. Maybe I still felt afraid and my will wasn't strong enough, but I will tell him. I will. I agree to be your bride. I want to stay with you. I fell in love with you at the first glance. Thank God. The apostle hadn't left. He was still in the village. This must be the last opportunity fate gave her. Therefore, I told him, then got the answer I wanted. Holding the fresh vegetables and fruits from other villages in her hands, Lulu ran along the village path with a smile. She was happy and even the wind in her ears was euphonious. In the golden sunshine, the man who wore the silver mask was leaning on the giant white tiger's body, as bright as a sun. Today is still a sunny day. I hope that he can find more beautiful brides. Chapter 169, Yunxi's Gifts, Engagement Gifts and Betrothal Gifts. Yunxi leaned on the white tiger's soft belly. He needed the green slime gem and was lost in thought. Lulu was so pure that she didn't even ask for any gift from him. She was just a rare exception. This world had its own traditional love system and courtship ritual. Since he had decided to finish side quest 4 to love, Starchild, he should be preparing gifts for the girls he would propose to. However, there was the problem. Apart from a few weapons, materials, and the green gem, he was literally as poor as a church mouse. If he hadn't become water god's apostle, he couldn't even freeload off this village. Even though this isn't a real world, there must be a reason for their proposal ceremony. At least, the gifts must be something I have chosen with my true heart. Otherwise, they will lose their memories in this world, and it will be too sad to them at that time. Yunxi needed the green slime gem and made a decision. At any rate, he should present the best gifts he had for them as engagement gifts. He would send them to his fiancées, the of Starwing's Knight's girls. The engagements would be fake, the fiancés would be fake, and the world itself was just a fantastic dream, like a bubble under a summer sky. However, at least the gifts he would present to them would be real. Perhaps this was the only thing he could do in Water God's world for them. The best gift I can offer them is, not something from the people in this world, but something made by myself. Yunxi gradually figured it out as he basked in the sun. Yes, a gift which could only be made by him in this world, a gift which had never appeared in this world, the thing that was most popular amongst the Starwing's Knight's girls. They even held rated battles for it. There are honey, cream, no butter, but I can make it myself. Got the enriched flour, but I have to make an oven and baking tools myself. Yunxi nodded after listing all the materials and tools he needed. He could do it. This world didn't have bread, and the villagers were used to eating pancakes that were made of wheat flour. However, it was simply because they hadn't learned suitable fermenting technology. Water God had no connection with any other worlds, just like the period before star bridges were built amongst different gods' domains. It wasn't surprising to learn that there was no bread in this world. I think that bread can be a decent gift in this world. With my mask's power, I can make bread that will retain its freshness for as long as possible. Oh, right, I can also control mist during the working process. Yunxi suddenly saw the light. He knew how to use his hero-ranked power now. To bakers, it was very important to blend water and flour when making bread. When one was bringing yeast into play and kneading dough, water was a necessary factor. In fact, the bread's taste and quality had been decided even before it was put into the oven. Baking was just the last step. Laymen thought that it was the most important process, but in fact, it was the simplest step in the eyes of experts. Yunshi had a feeling that with his water god's mask, he could make unprecedented, perfect bread. I've decided. Even though the world is fake, but the bread I will make will be real. Apart from that, I don't have anything else that can be presented to them. Let me start. Yunshi got excited after realizing what he could do and what extent he could reach. Lulu, can you go to the smithy to order these things for me? The faster the better. Oh, and I also need fine flowers and creams. Little Moo, you are their mountain lord, can you look for these things for me? Yes, mushroom, vanilla, and honey. I have seen them in the forest. Soon afterwards, Yunshi had collected all the materials and tools he needed. Benefiting from his identity as Water God's apostle and Little Moo's dominance in the forest, all the materials and tools were the best. Master, what are you going to do? Lulu asked with curiosity. It's just an idea. Lulu, I will give you a foretaste in a short while. Yunshi felt satisfied looking at the familiar materials and tools. Compared to being Water God's apostle, he preferred to be an ordinary baker. It was time to give his first fiancée a gift. The first bread in this world would be born in his hands. Therefore, I will make butter bread. Everyone likes it and it's the bread I know best. Yunshi was itching for a try. Why? Even when he fought with the green hippo in the dark forest, he didn't feel so excited. Why? It was the simplest food he had made countless times for his childhood sweetheart, Hua Hua. However, when he made it again in this strange world, he couldn't stop his heart from pounding. Had something just changed? Maybe it was because it was a gift he would present to his fiancée, so that is why he felt so excited. Foretaste. Looking at the flour, cream, and honey in the front of Yunshi, Lulu couldn't imagine how to mix them and eat them. Well, even if they taste bad, I will eat them all. It will be the food made by the apostle personally. As his wife, I can never say it tastes bad. Puff. Yunshi took a deep breath. There was mist between his fingers. The soft, slippery, green gem lay on Yunshi's shoulder and gazed at him curiously. Chapter 170. Upgrading. Gee. This is. Yunshi's every movement looked holy and mysterious in Lulu's eyes. When he reached out his fingers, which were covered with mist, and started to do something to the flower, she firmly remembered every step in her heart. However, she couldn't understand what Yunshi was doing. Of course she couldn't understand. Yunshi's skill was the most consummate skill that was summarized by countless bakers across thousands of years. It was the crystal of wisdom inherited by bakers from one generation to another. People who hadn't reached this rank could never understand it. A third-ranked baker could already be regarded as a master in the mortal world. Even though a third-ranked baker wouldn't be as strong as a third-ranked swordsman, their skill would still far surpass ordinary people's imagination. In fact, a third-ranked baker was rarer than a third-ranked swordsman, because ordinary people wouldn't continue pouring their energy, time and enthusiasm simply for becoming a third-ranked baker. As a third-ranked swordsman, you would have endless glory, wealth and power. However, if you were a third-ranked baker, not only that, including painter, musician and pharmacist, in ordinary people's eyes, you were just a human who had perfect technique. As long as you were talented in battle, even if you could only reach the first or the second rank, your status would be higher than that of a person who had achieved a third-ranked non-combat career. Only the people who had poured their hearts into their careers would have the chance to reach the third rank in their careers. Yunshi was the only third-ranked baker in the small town's history where he was born. After he completed the baker's third-ranked professional certification, countless nobles and rich men had sent out invitations to him, trying to recruit him to be their chef. Even if it were in the outside world, a third-ranked baker was pretty rare, not to mention in Water God's world. Water God's world wasn't as peaceful as it seemed. Pharmacists were popular due to the danger in this world. As for the people who were good at making food, they were very rare. In other words, Yunshi was the only third-ranked baker in this world. He could even call himself the best cook in this world. I understand. So that is what it is. Controlling the mist, Yunshi could feel that he was in excellent condition. Everything originates from water. Water is the most subtle part in food that can influence people's taste buds, and bread wasn't an exception. Now, with the power of his water god's mask, Yoon-shi could even control the water molecules in the dough. He was like a person who was using a cheat and could remove all flaws from the raw materials perfectly. It should be more water molecules here. There are impurities. Reject them. Okay, the proportion is perfect. I shouldn't change it. For the first time, Yoon-shi used the power of his water god's mask to make bread. He was brainstorming. Countless ideas were emerging in his heart like a fountain. He suddenly understood the parts he felt confused about when he made bread in the past. The essence of cooking was to use water, fire, and raw materials in a proper way. The best chef could make a perfect dish with the simplest seasonings and freshest food ingredients. It was a general rule to all cooking class careers. If you could release the food's natural delicate flavor, you could make the mortal world's best food. As a third-ranked baker, Yoon-shi had touched this realm a long time ago. The butter bread he made even contained a special effect that could restore a person's physical strength strikingly when eaten. He had reached a mortal's limits. However, something had been changed now. With the power of water god's mask, he was surpassing a mortal's limits. Water molecules, accelerate. Yoon-shi knew how to handle raw materials well with ease. However, he didn't put the semi-finished dough into the oven but started heating the dough in an incredible way. A large number of water molecules moved fast and vibrated at a high frequency on Yoon-shi's hands, toasting the dough perfectly and evenly. As Lulu gazed at him in surprise, the white dough gradually became golden, spreading a tempting scent in the air. Is this water god's divine power? Why did the dough suddenly become big in the apostle's hands and emanate a pleasant scent? What is happening? I can actually do it in this way. Yoon-shi also felt shocked after seeing his idea come true. No, it wasn't a skill that could be learned by mortals. Whether it was the preparation method of the raw materials or the way to accelerate water molecules, the two techniques were far surpassed a mortal's limit. Bang! At the moment the first loaf of bread formed, countless information suddenly appeared in Yoon-shi's mind. They were his perception to the world's nature and his understanding about superpowers. The world had changed in his eyes. It was the so-called transcendence. From now on, he wasn't a mortal anymore. In an instant, he understood it. His rank was upgraded, not as a swordsman or as a greatsword made, but as a baker. He was a fourth-ranked baker now. The upgrading process of common careers wasn't as complicated as the upgrading process of battle careers. It was a natural process after one finished a piece of work that surpassed a mortal's limits. A painter's upgrading process was to draw a painting that would expose your inner world and shock people's hearts. A musician's upgrading process was to write a music piece that could strike a chord in the audience's hearts. A pharmacist's upgrading process was to create medicine that could even heal hero-ranked beings. In a word, the upgrading standard for all non-combat careers was the same: to create a masterpiece that surpassed a mortal's limit. Bang! On Yoon-shi's fingertip, the first fourth-ranked food he had made, the golden butter bread, suddenly became 3 times bigger as its tempting smell spread throughout the whole village. Chapter 171. Imprint. Yoon-shi didn't know what things a fourth-ranked baker could do. Even in the whole White Lotus sword domain, there wasn't too much information about it, not to mention in Water God's world. Yes, compared to combat careers which were very popular, non-combat careers were rare, and the people who could attain the fourth rank in any non-combat career were also as rare as the hair of a phoenix and the horns of a giraffe. After all, if a person was talented, why would the person choose a non-combat career instead of a combat career? Although non-combat careers were so common, if one wanted to reach the fourth rank, talent wasn't enough, one must love their career. Coincidentally, Yoon-shi met the 2 requirements. Undoubtedly, before this day, as a young third-ranked baker, he was talented in making bread and desserts. He was the only third-ranked baker in that small town. Yoon-shi loved his career from the bottom of his heart. According to his original life plan, he had planned to inherit his parents' baker shop and marry an ordinary girl in the small town. As a person who had met the 2 requirements and had obtained Water God's mask, which had opened the door leading to the 4th rank for him, he had naturally surmounted the obstacle. It's a 4th-ranked loaf. This was also the first time Yoon-shi had seen a 4th-ranked loaf. It was golden and spread a tempting scent. Up to this point, She could still understand it. However, what was it about its size that it suddenly became 3 times bigger than before? Moreover, She felt that the loaf contained some special powers. Lulu, try it. In order to validate his idea, She tore off a small piece of the loaf and put it into Lulu's mouth. Ah, woo. Lulu nibbled the piece of loaf and felt the tempting taste in her mouth. She had just put the soft piece of bread into her mouth, when a warm feeling spread in her body. Lulu thought that she had just seen a field of wheat under the golden sunshine. After the second bite, an unprecedented sweet feeling swept across Lulu's body and soul. Delicious. How delicious. Lulu could barely believe that it was a food made from flour, eggs, honey, and cream. She felt that she was basking in a sea of cream. The effects are, refresh energy, increase vitality, and become beautiful. She carefully observed Lulu. He saw her skin suddenly become as smooth as an eggshell, and even the calluses on her hands had also disappeared. He was able to determine that the 4th-ranked loaf did contain a fantastic power that could nourish skin and increase vitality. In a manner of speaking, it was food that could be regarded as strategic material. Besides, the loaf was covered with a layer of special mist, which made it seem that it could prevent spoilage. Just like all hero-ranked careers, 4th-ranked non-combat careers could also accomplish a quantum leap for the people who had achieved the rank. It was said that a hero-ranked painter could draw magical paintings, and a hero-ranked musician could play entrancing music. As a hero-ranked baker, the ability She obtained just now was. She stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers towards the remaining raw materials. Time seemed to pause for an instant, and then was accelerated after that. All kinds of raw materials automatically permuted, combined, changed, leavened, and toasted. After 10 seconds, a row of tempting butter loaves were arranged on the table in front of Shi. Rapid prototyping and speeding up of the baking process. After I have made a sample, I can create same foods at any time as long as there are raw materials. Is mass production the ability I have obtained? Shi closed his eyes and felt the magical ability. As long as there were still raw materials, he could make as many different foods as he wanted in an instant. This was the special ability he just obtained as a 4th-ranked baker. No, that wasn't the end. He had also obtained a stronger ability: start, imagine, create. Shi remembered the process when he had made the loaf just now. The process was imprinted in Shi's mind like drawing a picture on a scroll. In his body, a part of his energy suddenly disappeared and was put into the scroll in his mind. After that, an incredible thing happened. Without any raw material or tool, a sweet, soft and hot golden loaf suddenly appeared in Shi's hands. Bread creation. I can make a bread from nothing. Shi slowly opened his eyes. Finally, he understood his strongest ability as a 4th-ranked baker, making bread from nothing. By using his energy, his knowledge, and love about bread, he could make bread which had already been imprinted in his mind. My body is bread, and my blood is wine. Eat my flesh and blood, you will obtain my blessing. Shi recalled and read the prayer before dinner of a god from Western God's domain. Shi suddenly understood. The god was a baker, too. Oh, it's delicious. Master, why is it so tasty? Oh, look, everyone is here. Lulu ate the loaf and took a glance at the door, seeing that the villagers were all standing at the door. Well, take it and share it with everyone. Shi handed over the golden loaf to Lulu. Theoretically, the bread he made personally, the bread made by his ability mass production, and the bread made by his ability bread creation, were all the same. The difference was that the bread he made himself needed raw materials. As long as there were still raw materials, he could make as many loaves of bread as he wanted. The bread made by his ability bread creation would take his physical strength and energy as the price, and before that, he needed to create a sample first in the real world, then imprint the process into his memory, so that he could use this ability. Chapter 172, 12 Candidate Brides. Incredibly, after becoming a hero-ranked baker, Shi could also create a special personal storage where he could store the bread he made. The storage spanned 100 grids and wasn't in common use with his star system, which meant that he could only put 100 loaves into it. The bread he put in the storage would become increasingly perfect with stronger effects as time went by. It would become one of his trump cards. All the abilities he had obtained were solely for making better bread. This was the greatest characteristic of hero-ranked baker. Yoon-shi hadn't expected that he would obtain a storage space for bread. It seemed that this was an exclusive ability of hero-ranked baker. Just like bread creation, which could form bread from nothing, they were all special abilities that surpassed the imagination of ordinary people. Hero-ranked non-combat career and hero-ranked combat career were entirely different. Then let me set fill 100 grids as a starting goal. I don't have a more advanced recipe, so I'll make 100 butter loaves. Yoon-shi was in high spirits. Today was Yoon-shi's happiest day since he became the so-called star child. He did not need to consider anything and just needed to make as many loaves of bread as he liked. At the same time, the loaves Yoon-shi had made caused a stir in the village. The villagers left 3 loaves for Lulu because she was the apostle's fiancée. Apart from that, all the remaining loaves were snatched unreservedly. To the villagers who only knew how to make pancakes, bread was a magical food that had never appeared in Water God's world before. Moreover, the loaves they ate were made by a hero-ranked baker. Most people bit their tongues the moment they bit into the bread. It was too delicious. Its unprecedented, sweet, soft taste captured their hearts immediately. The scent of fermented wheat blended with the scent of honey and cream. This perfect taste could satisfy the most critical gourmet, not to mention these ordinary villagers. As I thought, the apostle is a man who creates miracles. Lulu licked the white cream off the corner of her mouth and looked at Yoon-shi's room with reverence. 97, 98, 99, 100. After imprinting 100 butter loaves without a break, a fit of dizziness came over Yoon-shi. He was exhausted. As he had expected, bread creation wasn't as simple as it seemed. After making 100 loaves of bread, his physical strength thoroughly drained. Even a child could push him down. Fortunately, these 100 butter loaves in his storage represented that Yoon-shi's efforts were not futile. The storage would continuously save energy into the bread Yoon-shi made, making these loaves become unique as time passed. If I get stranded on a desert island in the future again, food will be the least of my worries. Yoon-shi mocked himself as he wiped off the sweat on his forehead. He remembered the biggest problem the girls on the island were facing. No matter how ingenious he was, he couldn't make bread without raw materials until today. After the grain reserve they had collected from White Lotus was eaten up, they had to obtain raw materials from local sources. Naturally, there wouldn't be milk, flour, eggs and honey on the island, and after knowing that the island was a monster's eye, Yoon-shi didn't want to eat any animal on the island. Now, he was able to solve the problem perfectly. Bang! Bang! The green slime gem jumped back and forth on Yoon-shi's hand, wondering where the sweet, soft loaves were. What? Are you hungry? Yoon-shi poked the naughty green slime gem. What a fantastic being. He had collected thousands of slimes and they still kept their size so small, as if there was some core controlling the slimes to maintain the size. Obviously, it had no brain, but it had a strong survival instinct. After knowing that Yoon-shi wouldn't eliminate them, the green slime gem even became intimate to him. It's hard to believe that you can finally evolve into a strong sky sword. Look, you can eat this loaf. Yoon-shi squeezed out his remaining energy and created a new butter loaf, putting it in front of the green slime gem. Bang! The green slime gem jumped to the loaf, which was dozens of times bigger than itself, and started to roll on it. It wasn't obvious, but Yoon-shi did see that it was eating the loaf. Yoon-shi observed it in curiosity and found that it absorbed the butter loaf bit by bit in an unknown manner. You are really incredible creatures. I hope that you will be harmless till the last moment. Yoon-shi slowly closed his eyes. It was more tiring than he had expected to make the 100 loaves. However, in this case, he had finished preparing the engagement gifts for the Starwings night girls. 100 loaves were a little too much, but it should be okay since Yoon-shi remembered that Starwings night girls all like to eat butter bread. The next ceremony would be soon. It's too strange. What a coincidence. Yoon-shi frowned as he gazed at the 12th scroll in his hand. It was hard to believe that each of the 12 villages in this area had an excellent girl like a crane standing among chickens. Lulu, Ling Ling, Mai Lan. Compared to the ordinary girls in the villages, their appearances and talents were apparently far above average. It wouldn't be surprising if there were only 1 or 2 excellent girls. However, it was the same for all the 12 villages. There must be some reason. 12 candidate brides in 12 different villages. Chapter 173, Yoon Kyu's anger. What a coincidence. 12 excellent girls in 12 different villages, and all of them had distinctive charms. What was the probability? At the least, Yoon Kyu didn't believe that it was just a coincidence. There must be some reason. After closing the 12th scroll of the candidate brides, Yoon Kyu opened the map she had made. I have collected all the necessary information in this area. It's time to go to the cities. Compared to small villages, it's more likely to find suitable candidate brides in cities. After making this plan, Yoon Kyu frowned as she looked at the map she had made. That guy, is he still in the first village? She didn't want to admit it, but the apostle called Yoon Hai was strong. She had even failed to figure out the limits of his power. Both of them had a water god's mask, however, his water mist was more efficient on the battlefield, which could easily turn the situation in battlefield around. If he wanted, he could win a war all by himself. Compared to her ability blood, which could only be used in small battles, his ability made him look more like a legendary water god's apostle. Maybe this was the reason why water god chose him to be its apostle. However, since he was so talented, why was he often derelict in his duty and carried out irrelevant business? He never took water god's quest to his heart and whispered of love with his fiancée all day. In her imagination, he must live a dissolute life every night. What a shameless, salacious man. He didn't deserve to have his great talent. Calm down. Even though this guy is immoral, he is still very strong. Having received the benefit of Yoon Hai's water mist, they had eliminated most of the green slimes in the area. His ability was indispensable at present. Ignore him, ignore him. Everything is for finding the most suitable bride for water god. I must finish this quest. Yoon Kyu took a deep breath. No matter the sacrifice and whatever the cost, once she accepted a quest, she would never give up on finishing it. This was her principle in life. In order to achieve her goal, she wasn't beneath using unscrupulous tactics. Even though the man named Yoon Hai was a shameless pervert, as long as he would come in handy, she would suffer him patiently and silently. It's time to move. When will I go to the nearby cities? Yes, of course I will go, but I can't leave before the ceremony. She nodded to Yoon Kyu, and told her that he needed more time. Ceremony? What's it? We don't have time to play. Our most urgent quest is to find more and more bride candidates for water god. Before Shea Longness enters the second stage, we must seize every minute and second. Yoon Kyu was exasperated at Yoon Shi's attitude. If her sight was as sharp as a sword, he would have been killed. It's for finding a method to fight against the sky sword. I can't explain it to you now. Anyway, you can go to the nearby city first, Yoon Kyu. Yoon Shi shook his head. He couldn't tell her the truth that his side quest 4 was the key point to solve the whole event. Why are you so greedy for beautiful girls? Yoon Kyu had reached the end of her forbearance. You are a hero-ranked water god's apostle. You haven't performed your task and instead enjoyed your married life in this small village day and night. What's wrong with you? Since you call yourself Yoon Hai, then take on the glory this name symbolize. The real Yoon Hai the Swordmaster was a legend in the whole Sky Sword God's domain. He was one of the 3 deicides. In the 10 Leaves Alliance, the scrolls about him could fill up a room. He was the one who was most likely to inherit the title Unrivaled Sky Sword. After the first Sky Sword God's domain master, the first Unrivaled Sky Sword disappeared, no one had obtained this title again. The current master of Sky Sword God's domain was one of the 3 deicides. Because there were 3 Sky Swords whose power were at the same level, none of them was strong enough to inherit this crowning title, becoming the new Unrivaled Sky Sword. Yoon Hai the Swordmaster was the youngest and the most gifted one amongst the 3 deicides. Unfortunately, he had also disappeared for a long time, and the other Sky Swords had no interest to scramble for power, otherwise, it would be still indeterminate who would become the current master of Sky Sword God's domain. In fact, you misunderstand me. She looked at Yoon Q awkwardly. His impression of him was favorable, but it seemed that he misunderstood him too much. Then why did you propose to Lulu? She was very likely to be a candidate bride. Now, she has become your woman and lost her opportunity. Yoon Q couldn't understand She's thinking loop. As a water god's apostle, he actually carried off his god's candidate bride. It was a sacrilege to the god. Why didn't he feel guilty? My woman, no, you misunderstand us. She shook and hesitated for a while, then said, I know you think that I did something wrong, but there is a reason. At least, Lulu didn't deny my proposal. Both of us were sincere. Yes, this was the point. Side quest 4 to love, Starchild wasn't a quest that could be simply completed by verbal contracts. In order to finish it, the girl who agreed to his proposal must be sincere from the bottom of her heart. He couldn't force nor cheat the girl. If so, it wouldn't be accepted by the stars. Yoon Q was speechless. Yes. It seemed that Yoon Hai had defied Water God's quest, but actually, he had done nothing wrong. After all, the girl, Lulu's smile was real. She really loved this scum. When Yoon Q had found her and asked if she wanted to reject Yoon Hai's proposal, she had replied, I wasn't forced. I liked him of my own free will. Yes, I love him very, very, very much. Chapter 174, Strategic Materials. Even if you won't be his only lover. Yoon Q didn't understand why she still thought that she was happy, even though she wouldn't be his only one. Yes, I know. The apostle had told me that he would have lots of brides. Lulu answered with joy in her eyes. It's already very lucky for me to be his first bride. He is such a mature and great man. As an immature girl, it's my luck to marry him. Every minute, every second I have spent with him is my treasure. No matter where he will go and what he will do, I will stay with him forever. This is my fate. What a pure, innocent girl. Just thinking about that scum doing this thing and that thing to this girl every night, Yoon Q felt sick to her stomach. What a scum. Why do I see white liquid, white cream, at the corners of her mouth? No, I shouldn't keep imagining. All of them are very cute. She looked through the 12 scrolls Yoon Q had made. Yoon Q's paintings didn't contain an artistic taste. However, the paintings she had drawn accurately traced out the girls' appearances. There were no artistic treatments in Yoon Q's paintings, but they exposed more of the girls' excellent, elegant demeanors. She even felt that the girls had become more beautiful after entering Water God's world. Their skins were as tender as water, and their temperaments were as bright as full-blown flowers, as if the air in this world was changing them. No one would know that they weren't as beautiful as now before they joined Starwing's Night. And now, in this world, these Starwing's Night girls were changed again. Just like Lulu, who had awakened her talent as a pharmacist, the other girls were also growing fast. This time, this dream world was just too amazing. What do you mean? Don't tell me that you want to propose to them. Yoon Q mercilessly stared at Yoon-shi with her sharp eyes. This salacious guy. How many pure, innocent girls would satisfy you? Oh, right. You must feel tired after making such a long journey. Do you want to eat some bread? Yoon-shi quickly changed the topic and handed over a loaf of bread he had made to her. Bread? Where did you get it? Yoon Q looked at the golden loaf Yoon-shi had handed over to her in surprise. She swallowed. The cooking technology in Water God's world was still at a very low level. To villagers, a barbecue was already a very luxurious delicacy. As for bread, it hadn't been invented in this world. After taking the sweet butter loaf from Yoon-shi, Yoon Q even felt a slight disorder. Gee! The loaf. Unlike the ordinary villagers in this small village, Yoon Q was an elite from the 10 Leaves Alliance. She immediately felt something unusual. After taking a small bite of the loaf, she realized an amazing thing. It tasted like sunlight, making her feel that she was basking in the sun. All the blood within her body was groaning, with a comfortable feeling hovering within her mind. It's a 4th-ranked loaf. It's a strategic material. Where did you get it? Yoon-kyu carefully put the golden loaf into her pocket. No, it wasn't because the loaf wasn't delicious. In fact, she admitted that it was the best bread she had ever eaten. However, compared to its taste, its effects of replenishing one's energy and physical strength were more important. It could become life-saving medicine if it was necessary. She couldn't waste its effects at present. Even though she was an elite from the 10 Leaves Alliance, she wasn't qualified to obtain any fourth-ranked food. It wasn't something that could be bought by money, but through high-level strategic materials. In the Alliance, only hero-ranked killers could obtain a similar supply. She had only tasted similar food once when she had won the first prize in the Alliance's boot camp. It had been a fourth-ranked food named Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation, which could replenish her magic power and physical strength strikingly, but she had eaten the biscuit in her advanced trial. After that, she had never obtained such a precious supply again. If she had a Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation when she had tried to assassinate Hua Hua, she wouldn't have been forced to use that method. No, forget it, forget it. Remembering the man that night, Yoon-kyu was suddenly in a bad mood. Isn't it good? She looked at Yoon-kyu in surprise. This was the first time he had seen the powerful Red Archer show such a painful expression. Is the bread really that bad? He thought that the butter loaf was one of his best masterpieces. It's not about the taste. After a while, Yoon-kyu had to admit that she couldn't say it's not good against her own will. I'm glad to hear you say that. After all, I made the bread myself. Yes, it's fourth-ranked bread. It was the first time I had made fourth-ranked bread myself, and it seemed that it wasn't bad. Ha ha. She let out a sigh of relief. Are you a hero-ranked baker? How can it be possible? It's a very rare non-combat career. Yoon-kyu couldn't believe what she had just heard. Did that salacious scum just say that the bread was made by him? Is he really so talented? Why is the universe so unfair, giving such a salacious, irresponsible apostle such a powerful gift? Hero-ranked baker. This career was even rarer than being a sorcerer. In the whole 10 Leaves Alliance, only very few cooks were fourth-ranked, otherwise, Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation wouldn't become so rare. Yes, I just upgraded to the fourth rank not long ago. I think that my ability can be of some use to you. She hadn't realized how useful his ability was. In any case, Baker was just a non-combat career. Even though he had upgraded to the hero rank, it couldn't be more helpful than his identity as Water God's apostle. Don't you know what it means? Yoon-kyu couldn't stand it any longer. Can be of some use. His bread was a type of strategic material. Chapter 175, Terrible Non-Combat Careers. Taking Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation as an example, the hero-ranked cookie maker who could make this special supply could make 5 to 10 biscuits every day. However, in the 10 Leaves Alliance, the demand for these special, precious biscuits was limitless. Unlike spirit weapons or artifacts which demanded high requirements to their users, everyone could eat this type of special food. From a hero-ranked swordsman down to a mortal-ranked killer, even an ordinary person could get benefits from eating it with no side effects. The number of biscuits the cookie maker could make was just like a drop in the bucket. They totally couldn't meet people's need. But what did she just see? The man named Yoon-hai could make butter bread, which was clearly rarer than the Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation. Both the golden butter bread's weight and effect had far surpassed the biscuit Yoon-kyu had once eaten. If the effect of the Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation Yoon-kyu had eaten was 10, then the effect of the sweet, soft, golden bread she had made was 100. In a word, a golden loaf was equal to 10 biscuits. From what Yoon-kyu knew, the cookie maker was a big shot in the 10 Leaves Alliance and was protected perfectly by the Alliance. The cookie maker was more important than any of the hero-ranked warriors in the Alliance. No, more important than that. Because the 10 Leaves Alliance could recruit lots of hero-ranked mercenaries easily, it was as difficult as climbing up to the sky when they tried to find any free hero-ranked cook. The cookie maker, whose name was highly confidential, was cultivated by the Alliance itself. Hero-ranked cooks were rarer than ordinary people's imagination. Even if this man named Yoon-hai only exposed his ability of making the butter loaf in the outside world, Countless forces would fight to recruit him, at all costs. Hero-ranked non-combat career was a hidden career amongst all hero-ranked careers. People thought that hero-ranked non-combat careers were weak, but in fact, it was a complete misunderstanding. Once they reached the later stage of the hero rank, their abilities would reach a brand new realm. Among all hero-ranked careers, poet, painter, musician, and clown were four of the most dreadful careers, because it seemed that they had no fighting strength on the surface. As for baker, cookie maker and pastry chef, who could make special food, they were rarer. They were qualified to be called master. Strong hero-ranked warriors could help in increasing a force's fame, however, hero-ranked cooks could help in increasing the whole force's upper limit. And now, such a master was standing in front of her. Why did such a shameless, salacious man have such great talent? What a big waste. Could it be that only abnormal people had the potential to become a master? If so, Yun Q looked at Yun Shi with a peculiar expression. It seemed that it was the truth. To hero-ranked non-combat professionals, they must be fanatical towards their careers, and their upgrading methods were also totally different from the upgrading methods of combat careers. Most hero-ranked painters were incurable pursuers of beauty. Most hero-ranked musicians were fanatics of all kinds of weird sounds. Most hero-ranked clowns were psychiatric maniacs. As for bakers, cookie makers, and pastry chefs, if they weren't monomanias, how could they focus on making food all day and cast special, fantastic effects in foods? In other words, almost all hero-ranked non-combat professionals weren't normal people. All the normal people in the universe had gone to practice their combat skills, and only lunatics were willing to practice their non-combat skills till the hero rank. They were all eccentrics, because normal people couldn't make bread or cookies containing magic power. They could change the rules of the world in some sense, which was far beyond ordinary people's understanding. Strong hero-ranked warriors could smash a mountain with a single blow, shake the earth with a single stomp, and change the wind and clouds with a single roar. However, even though they were incredibly powerful, they couldn't draw a magical picture, play euphonious music, or make a piece of total biscuit of rejuvenation. Hero-ranked non-combat professionals were more close to the nature of the universe, and would eventually become terrible monsters. They were not inferior to the strongest hero-ranked warrior in the world in some sense. If they reached the 6th rank, standing at the top of hero rank, they would become a painter who could draw the world's nature, a musician who could play death, or a clown who could bring madness. They told people in this way that non-combat careers weren't as weak as people thought. They were geniuses above geniuses. And now, there was such a genius in front of Yun Q. He was a water god's apostle who could control mist within a wide range. And also, he was a baker who could make 4th-ranked golden butter bread, which was 10 times more precious than total biscuit of rejuvenation. He had 2 hero-ranked careers, and was eminent at both of the careers. What a terrible man. Yun Q whispered, looking at Yun Shi who hadn't realized his worth. Great, you like it. It seems that my bread isn't bad. Yun Shi let out a sigh of relief. If Yun Q, who was always serious and meticulous, also liked his loaf, then it shouldn't be a problem to present the bread to the girls as engagement gifts. Everything is under my control. What I should do next is to propose to the other 11 girls. Chapter 176, King of Spiders Mist. The surface of Water God's world was covered in endless mist. Only when the sunlight shone on the whole world, did the mist, which always hovered within the forests, on the mountains and lakes, be slightly dispelled, but never totally vanish. In fact, apart from the roads, villages, and cities which were protected by some unknown power, the whole world was covered in mist. It was a daily scene in Water God's world, and it had become a part of this world in ordinary people's eyes. Just like the sun in the sky, the mist on the ground was also a natural thing to all living beings in this world. They regarded it as a part of the great Water God's avatar. Even though there were always some terrible monsters born in the mist, it was also a natural part of this world's natural rules. The people in Water God's worlds were blessed by Water God and hardly ever suffered hunger. Then why did they think that strong people can marry a lot of girls? Because there was such a danger. They needed to guard against risks in this manner. There were unknown dangers lingering in the mist. In a deep cave, 8 eyes slowly opened. A creature's 8 ruber-like pupils looked around as it wondered where it was. Hiss! It ejected black threads out of its mouth and spun a dark spiderweb as quick as it could, in case that there was any enemy. However, it sensed nothing dangerous. Where is this? Who am I? Where am I from? It had forgotten a lot of things, and only a sense of anger was lingering in its mind. Yes, it remembered. It was the king of dark shadow spider race, the king of spiders. It once dominated a wide area in the void, hunting all creatures who dared to enter its dark shadow web. In the dark void, prey was very rare. Unfortunately, it could go nowhere else. The dark shadow spider race had lived in the void for thousands and thousands of years. Only when void turbulence happened, there may some preys be involved in the void. Every time they found any prey, the whole dark shadow spider race would cooperate with each other to hunt down the prey and then decide if they should procreate new offspring according to the prey's weight and rank. The dark void was very desolate. Even at the best of times, their number wasn't more than 100. In order to survive, it ate its race's members one by one, until finally, there was only itself in the void. However, it didn't mind. This was what they were, forced by the cruel environment. In order to perpetuate their race, they didn't mind being unscrupulous. At any rate, even though it was alone, it was also a hermaphrodite at the same time. As long as it could find sufficient food, it could produce new offspring itself. Only the strongest individual could survive in the void, and as the king of spiders, it deserved to be the ruler of that area in the void. Since it wasn't possible to find new prey, it entered a dormant state, waiting for the next void turbulence in its sleep. According to its experience, it only needed to wait dozens of years before the next void turbulence happened. At that time, new prey would be dragged into this area by the void turbulence and become its food. However, a change occurred, which was earlier than it had expected. A fantastic silver creature tore apart the void, coming into this area from a very distant world. Strong, charming, at the first sight, its heart had been conquered by the silver creature's charm. It had nothing to do with race or gender. It was simply impressed by the silver creature's pure, strong power. Even though it was the king of spiders, it still thought that it was as negligible as dust in front of the creature's giant body and hazardous might. The silver creature broke the seemingly immutable void, forcibly opened a door leading to an unknown god's domain, then squeezed itself through that door. All beings in the void, including the beings it had seen and had never seen, went mad. On the other side of the door must be a vibrant world, which should be protected by the universe's rule at first, but now, it was opening up to them nakedly. To the beings in the void who struggled to live day after day, this world with endless food was a dreamy fairyland. At that moment, regardless of their race and rank, they all fell into a fanatic condition. They rushed towards the door like a swarm of hornets. The next moment, they were killed. Countless void beings who were far stronger and more terrifying than it, were chopped and minced by an ice-blue sword. In that instant, thousands of void beings had been killed by the sword. Sky Sword. After seeing the ice-blue sword, the terrible memory about Sky Sword, which had been imprinted in void beings' blood, revived in their minds. Yes, it was the rule, the field of Sky Sword God's domain. The giant, silver creature could break through the sword. Unfortunately, they couldn't. The guardian of the door had never disappeared. However, it saw the cracks on the door. There was still a slight opportunity. Strong void beings had all been killed, but some weak creatures who were good at hiding had luckily entered the door. It was one of these lucky dogs. Its desire of producing more and more offspring made it overcome its fear. It stealthily moved close to the crack and came into the fantastic world. Unfortunately, it was severely injured when it crossed the door. Its body had been weakened to an incredibly feeble extent, and it caused its biggest failure in its life. At first, it was just a simple hunt to find more prey to produce offspring. However, it suffered a deadly blow which was even worse than what it had suffered when it slid through the crack. To save its life, it made its choice. It gave up its most important thing and ran away. I lost half of myself, the king of spiders. No, it had become the queen of spiders now. The queen of spiders raised its claw and looked at itself with its red, vicious eyes. It couldn't produce offspring anymore. After losing its male half, it would never have any chance to have new offspring. The dark shadow spider race would become totally extinct once it died too. It was an absolutely irreconcilable hatred. Chapter 177. The Birth of a Queen. Revenge. Revenge. It must kill the person who killed its male half at any cost. It must take revenge for the extinction of the whole dark shadow spider race. Insane murderous intent spread across its whole body as a bloody color sprawled over the black threads. Hiss. With painful roar echoed in the cave, the Spider Queen slowly moved towards the exit of the cave. Suddenly, it saw a strange crystal which was filled with green liquid. Countless sparkling green slimes jumped around inside the green crystal. If that was all, then it was just a common scene because it was not surprised to see slimes inhabiting caves. They were the lowest creatures in caves. However, these slimes were different. Hiss. After observing these slimes for a while, the Spider Queen shivered with a shocked expression in its 8 eyes. The green crystal was producing slimes at a fixed and high frequency. At short intervals, the green crystal would produce 100 slimes. At this speed, this cave should have been filled with countless slimes, but the number of slimes in this cave didn't change. Why? Because once the number of slimes in this cave reached a certain extent, a part of these slimes would suddenly vanish in this cave. Void transport. As a void creature, the Spider Queen immediately realized their movement method. Even if it was the Dark Shadow Spider Queen, it wouldn't be able to do it because only the beings whose power had reached the 7th rank could tear open space. The power of space was pretty rare even amongst all hero-ranked powers. It was said that it was close to the nature of the universe. The people who could control this power could even call themselves the god's domain's favorite. There, you are, a muffled sound suddenly rang in the Spider Queen's ears. It couldn't help but take a step back, curl up its legs and lower its head. As a void creature, it naturally noticed that the sound was from a presence that was far beyond its imagination, who had far surpassed any void creature it had ever seen. Perhaps only the holy, beautiful, silver creature was on a par with the presence. However, compared to the holy, beautiful, silver creature, this presence's voice was more evil, just like what it had often heard from its race members. Undoubtedly, it wasn't a benign existence. Surrender to me, and become my subordinate, the muffled sound from the green crystal echoed in the cave. After hearing it, the green slimes around the crystal started to evolve themselves at a high speed. The second stage, which Yun-Q once told Yun-Shi about, was starting here, and was doomed to spread to the whole water god's world. Kill the slimes in this world to stop the slime race's evolution was just a whimsical joke. The source of the slimes in this world was right here, in this deep cave. As long as the green crystal hadn't been destroyed, the slime race's evolution would be unstoppable. It was the will of Jealousness, the Sky Sword, the whole slime race's only child of God. Yes, the great child of God. The presence's will touched the Spider Queen's mind, and immediately, the Spider Queen understood what a great existence it was facing. She was born in the lowest race, but finally became an inconceivably strong presence. She had thousands of appearances and avatars, and she was the embodiment of the whole slime race. As long as there was still any slime in the universe, she wouldn't die. She was the most weird Sky Sword, Jealousness. To the Dark Shadow Spider Queen who had lived in the void all its life, Jealousness was a presence that was greater than its wildest imagination. I grant you, human form, find the trace of the god in this world. For me, as green lights emerged from the crystal, one green slime after another turned into green mist and flocked to the Dark Shadow Spider Queen. The Spider Queen was covered with a layer of green mist. It crouched down in fear and twisted in pain. All its veins and nerves were permeated and infected by the green mist, turning to a strange direction. Even though she was still incomplete, she was still a Sky Sword, the strongest presence in the whole Sky Sword god's domain. Jealousness's will could transform the hero-ranked Dark Shadow Spider Queen's body as easily as turning her hand. Hiss, hiss. The green mist dissolved the queen's whole body and transformed it to a brand new form. Under the faint green light in the cave, a black-haired woman came into the world. Her hair was as dark as night, hanging down to her ankles. Her charming face stared at her body in wonder and confusion. Ugly. Why is this body so ugly? Even though any man would be enchanted by her perfect body at the first glance, unfortunately, it was a dark shadow spider. It didn't understand what this human form meant. Look for water god's apostles, then catch the apostle who wears a silver mask. The dark shadow spider queen didn't know if it was her illusion, however, she felt that the great sky sword, Jealousness, was grinding her teeth when she said it, as if the apostle with a silver mask had done something unforgivable to her. Your will is my life mission, my lady. Chapter 178, Yoon-Kyo's warning several days later. Yoon-shi hadn't known that he had been targeted by a most terrible presence in this world. He was preparing for the coming ceremony. 1, 2, 3, 100. After counting the loaves of bread in his storage again, Yoon-shi smiled with satisfaction. This was the 7th day since he had arrived in Water God's world. The time in this world was far faster than in the real world, therefore he didn't need to worry about his and the girls' bodies on the island. He would finish this trial in his best state, and today was the most important day in his plan. The people from the nearby 12 villages and faraway places were all waiting for the ceremony to start. It was hard to find out when this kind of ceremony, which combined its functions with blind dates, trade, and celebration, started. Perhaps it formed naturally in the villagers' daily communication. Once the ceremony started, it would become the most rumbling time of the year. The participants weren't just some villagers, because even some townspeople were keen to take part in the ceremony. This time, the ceremony was held in a village that was not far away from Lulu's village. Ever since 3 days ago, there had been caravans passing by this small village and they bought Lulu's potions and medicines at a high price, which made Lulu grin from ear to ear. Master, are you ready? Lulu lightly rapped on the door and looked at Yoon-shi in admiration. Yes. Take it, it's a bread I just made. Yoon-shi snapped his fingers. A hot butter loaf suddenly appeared in the air. Even though it was just common fresh bread which was far inferior to the bread in Yoon-shi's storage, however, it was still a treasure to Lulu. Oh, Master, how many girls will you propose to? Lulu nibbled the sweet bread and asked Yoon-shi in curiosity. About 11 girls. It would be better if I can find more suitable girls in the ceremony. Yoon-shi remembered the girls' faces, especially Hua Yu and Xiao Kao. If he could obtain their powers, his strength would leap to a new level. Yoon-Kyo's record had warned him that some elite slimes had appeared in other places. It wasn't good news at all. Obviously, Jealousness the Sky Sword wasn't going to give up on invading this world. In order to survive and finish his quest, this ceremony was crucial. Maybe Yoon-Kyo would feel very angry after knowing about his behavior, but he had no choice. Once remembering that the 11 girls he would propose to had all been recorded in Yoon-Kyo's scrolls, Yoon-shi felt stressed. It is really not my real intention. Master, cheer up. Her encouragement wasn't fake, because the girls in Water God's world must accept this fact. Strong people shouldn't have only one wife, they must marry as many girls as they could. As his first wife, she must take the responsibility. You are a good girl. Yoon-shi looked at Lulu with guilt. Fortunately, to Starwing's night girls, this world was just a dream. After they woke up, they would remember nothing. Yes, I'm a good girl. Since that is so, how about tonight? Lulu blushed and hinted at Yoon-shi. Ha ha ha, we should go. Yoon-shi noticed Lulu's eyes filling with anticipation. He stiffly changed the topic. It wasn't a problem to hold a courtship ceremony with her. After all, it was just a ceremony. However, he wouldn't do anything to Lulu, because he wasn't an animal in season. He felt that in this world, Lulu was more naive than when she was in the real world. What was the reason? The great stars, I only want to be an upright gentleman. Rivulet Village, which was known as the meandering rivulet beside the village, was having its busiest day today. Thousands of people from the nearby villages and cities had come to this quiet small village. Most of them were the protagonists of this ceremony, the unmarried girls from nearby villages, and the others were the young men who would do their best to propose to them. Due to this reason, some special goods were very popular here. Come here, come here. Look at the latest perfumes from the Holy City. They were made by a third-ranked junior perfumer, who is also a 17-year-old beautiful girl. We have only 30 bottles of perfume. First come first served. Come here, come here. Look at the lastest moisturizer made by Master Lulu. What? You don't know who Mater Lulu is? She is the only third-ranked master in this area. I bought this new produce at 3 times price. Yoke grass is on sale. It's said that if you can tie your lover with this grass, your marriage will be made in heaven. Guess lantern riddles. It's free to pick and choose whatever you like. Literally, these merchants knew what these girls liked. Perfume and moisturizer had all been bought in a quarter of an hour. Even the yoke grasses, which were quite a lot, had all been sold out in half a day. The ceremony was bustling from the early morning, and this vibrant scene was what Yoon-shi and Lulu saw when they arrived at this village. Gee! Yoon-kyu! Why are you here? Yoon-shi gazed at the girl at the gate of the village in surprise. Humph! I knew you will come here at this time. Yoon-kyu darted a look at Yoon-shi as if he was something dirty. She threw a scroll to him. I just found a new bride candidate. I warn you, you can do whatever you want to the other girls, but never put a finger on these bride candidate. Never. Yoon-kyu raised her voice. Lulu was an exception, and I hope that she is the only exception. Do you understand? Beads of sweat dripped from Yoon-shi's forehead. What could he do now? Chapter 179, Dangerous Target. I've things to do. The 12 bride candidates are supposed to come here, and it's your responsibility to protect them. Don't forget your duty as a water god's apostle. Yoon-kyu stared at Yoon-shi and turned away. Yoon-kyu didn't want to work together with this man at all. She liked to follow prescribed order and obtained harvests with great effort. To her, Yoon-shi's existence itself was a paradox. He was so talented, holding 2 careers, hero-ranked baker and water god's apostle simultaneously. However, he actually loafed away his time all day and was only concerned with love and romance. What a waste. She didn't understand what this man was thinking. Obviously, water god's quest was the top priority, but he just wasted 7 days in the first village and only cleaned the slimes around the village casually. Ha, sorry, Yoon-kyu. Yoon-shi sighed. Although it seemed that he was stealing what was entrusted to his care, but he didn't regret his decision. Today, he must propose to the 12 girls, saving these Star Wings night girls from becoming water god's bride candidate. Wait. 12. Shouldn't there only be 11 girls? Yoon-shi opened the scrolls he got from Yoon-kyu. He froze. Something he hadn't expected happened. This girl. She wasn't one of the Star Wings night girls. On the scroll, it was a beautiful woman with black hair and snow-white skin, who looked extremely noble. Yoon-shi didn't remember any Star Wings night girl that was so mature. She was like a queen out of a black fairy world. With a prideful, alluring, demon-like temperament, she stood quietly in the picture. Especially her deep eyes, which looked like a pair of soul-sucking abysses, leaving him a dark, dangerous, and mysterious feeling. She was absolutely not a member of his Star Wings night. Who is she? Yoon-shi's heart pounded. Obviously, this was the first time he had seen this beautiful woman. However, he had a feeling that he had seen her before. Why do I feel nervous when I look at her picture? Can it be the so-called fall in love at first sight? Since she was specially selected by Yoon-kyu, she must be unusual. Yoon-shi had this foreboding. She is beautiful. Lulu was jealous. She didn't know the reason, but when she looked at the picture, she felt disgusted and filled with hostility. No, I shouldn't be so narrow-minded. I shouldn't feel jealous. I'm the great apostle's first wife. Although Lulu reminded herself of this in her heart, she still felt that the mysterious black-haired woman was different. However, Lulu couldn't say which part was different. Yes, but it's strange. Is she a native of this world? Yoon-shi took a close look at the picture, and was sure that he didn't know the black-haired woman. Then, why did his heart pound fast when he looked at the picture? What a mystery. Since she wasn't a member of his Star Wings night, she wouldn't subconsciously take a shine to him just like Lulu. It would be too difficult to pursue her. I shouldn't put her into the list of my fiancé candidates now. Yoon, she thought in his heart. After all, if she didn't want to marry him, his proposal would be meaningless. The girls must voluntarily accept his proposal, otherwise he wouldn't be able to finish side quest 4. She isn't one of my goals. Yoon, she let out a sigh of relief after making this decision. Why? Why do I feel nervous even when I just look at her picture? What a pity. She is so beautiful. Lulu also let out a sigh of relief, then started to blame herself for her jealousy in her heart. Such a beautiful woman surely could be an excellent bride. Lulu, why are you so narrow-minded? You can accept other girls, why not her? Is it because of her age? Indeed, she is the most mature woman in the scrolls. Her attractive body surely can let the great apostle feel as if he is in heaven. Compared to herself, Lulu felt inferior looking at her own chest. She sighed at the unfairness of fate. Woo, why do none of the medicines I know enhance breasts? Pa. Suddenly, a memory flashed through Lulu's mind. She rubbed her temple in confusion. Multi-headed demon dragon, dragon blood alliance. Some strange information suddenly appeared in Lulu's mind. Does such a monster exist in Water God's world? Okay, we should go. Yoon, she reorganized his mood and walked to the bustling ceremony together with Lulu. In a cave which was 1 kilometer away from the village, the Spider Queen slowly stretched herself in the darkness. It wasn't very comfortable to walk in the outside world in her human form. She even spent 12 hours learning how to walk on 2 legs. When she had just walked out of the cave, she didn't even deviate from her habit of walking with 4 limbs. It was too hard to keep her balance when walking with 2 legs. Human's body structure was too inconvenient. However, for Shea Longness the Sky Sword, her current master's order, she had to appear in the human's world in this troublesome form. There was countless food in this world. Compared to the void, this world was too noisy. She had to refrain herself with great effort to not hunt the humans who walked on the streets with no self-protection awareness. Hiss. After weaving one dark shadow web after another, the Spider Queen finally stopped and transformed into her human form again. She had gradually gotten used to transforming between the 2 forms. It's time to hunt. The dark shadow Spider Queen put on the robe made of her black threads, exposing her dangerous eyes. Chapter 180. Ling is tempted. Okay, I will start. I'm serious. I will really start. I will start. Whoa. It's too shameful. Yoon, she looked at the girls around him, sweating profusely under their curious eyes. Following Lulu's suggestion, he sat on the square in the center of the village. Around him, there were hundreds of young men who had the same intention like him. The youngest boy was about 15 years old, and the oldest man looked like he was 50 years old. These young men were from different villages. According to tradition, they all put a small table in front of themselves. On the tables were the gifts they had prepared for the girls they would propose to, including perfumes, potions, unknown rare herbs, and homemade bone sculptures. They were the best things they could offer. Showing one's gift was a part of the ceremony tradition and the most important selection criteria to the girls who wanted to find the right person. The gift represented the man's career and the degree of his love. In order to marry the most excellent girl, countless young men rummaged their brains on choosing gifts every year. There were many tips. The most expensive gift isn't the best gift. If a man simply put gold bricks in front of him, he would be despised by everyone. The gifts must hit the right note with these girls. Gifts such as perfumes, skin moisturizers, flowers, and artworks were always very popular. There were not too many girls who would refuse to accept them. But today, there was a sort of gift that had never been seen by anyone before. Yes, there was the golden, soft, sweet, hot bread Yoon she put on the table in front of him. The golden bread had been slightly heated by Yoon she's water mist. Apart from Lulu, it was a brand new gift to all the girls at this ceremony. They didn't know what it was, but its special scent made them wonder if it was a type of food. But, how can any food in this world be so beautiful? From its golden color and the pure white decoration on it, isn't it a work of art? How can it be a food? It must be very expensive. Why would this man like to use it as a courtship gift at this rural ceremony? Looking at the 10 butter loaves She had put on the table, the girls around him froze. Almost everyone was attracted by these beautiful loaves of bread. Amongst these girls, 11 girls felt a sense of familiarity when they saw the loaves of bread, but also, they were sure that they had never seen these treasures before. In this old world, people hadn't learned how to process yeast and refine milk to cream. People couldn't imagine how to make bread. Moreover, Yunxi's bread was made of his hero-ranked miracle power. If Yunqiu was here and saw Yunxi using the golden butter loaves as gifts, she would go crazy. If she had such bread when she was badly injured, she wouldn't have had to save her life in that shameful manner. Kadun. I'm hungry. Ling wiped her mouth. She instinctively noticed that these golden things were food. They must be very delicious. No, she couldn't stand it any longer. Just go, Ling. Ling bravely walked towards Yunxi. Ling, it's you. Yunxi smiled as he looked at the familiar girl in front of him. He still remembered that she was the most ardent one when these girls fought for his bread on the island. Ling was a straightforward, cute girl. She never hid her desire, and her eyes never lied. Are they food? Ling swallowed as she looked at Yunxi with longing. Yes. They are bread, Ling. Yunxi gradually got rid of his nervous tension. The girl in front of him wasn't a stranger. She was the optimistic, vibrant girl who always followed behind Hua Yu in Starwing's night. Although her family had declined and become a dependency of Hua Yu's family, but Hua Yu and Ling were on good terms. They were besties since their childhood. Even the sizes of their breasts were similar, making countless girls feel jealous. You know my name? Ling pretended to be ladylike, but she couldn't stop her eyes continuously glancing at the bread, which had exposed her true intention. Yes. In fact, this isn't our first meeting. You like sweet, soft, hot food, don't you? Since Yunxi had made food for the Starwing's night girls on the island for so many days, he had known Ling's preferences very well. Her resistibility to sweet food was literally zero. Indeed, most girls liked sweet food, but Ling's favoritism to sweet food was stronger than anyone's. In order to obtain his butter bread, she defeated one rival after another, finally becoming one of the top 5 amongst all the Starwing's night girls. Intriguingly, although she liked sweet food, she wasn't fat at all, as if all the sugar she had eaten had been absorbed by some part of her body, making other girls feel extreme jealousy with their eyes green. Ah, you know about that. It's a little sheepish. Everyone in my village is very poor and we don't have a lot of honey and sugar. I shouldn't have such a luxurious taste. Lulu looked at Yunxi in embarrassment, then quickly stretched out her hand and grabbed one of the 10 butter loaves. You know what this means. Even though this was Yunxi's true intention, he still reminded her about the result of her choice. Ling remembered the meaning of taking a man's gift at the ceremony. She blushed. Chapter 181. Ling agreed after a while. Ling made her decision. I know. I'll marry you. Anyway, you don't look like a bad guy. Can I eat it now? Ling's expression looked as if she was saying I won't give it to anyone. She tightly grasped the golden loaf in her hands and took a big bite. The sweet smell of cream and flour instantly spread inside her mouth. To the people within this world, their daily food was simply some boiled rice and vegetables. The first bite of bread was irresistible to them. Oh! Ling smiled happily. She seemed to have fallen into a nice fantasy. It's too delicious. If I can eat this food every day after I marry this man, it looks good to me. Mama said that I should choose someone who can make me feel happy, and I must take the man's heart once I make my choice. A good lady should believe in the man who had caught her heart. It's yummy. Ling's eyes glowed as she gazed at Yunxi, as if she was trying to find out his true appearance hiding behind the mask. Yunxi let out a sigh of relief after seeing Ling's burning eyes. The bread was effective. Although he shouldn't say it, but Ling was the simplest one amongst all the Starwing's night girls. She was easy to be tempted by toothsome food, and wasn't good at thinking. Maybe this was the reason why she was Hua Yu's bestie. After all, people all like to make friends with these kinds of people. Give me one more. After gulping the expensive fourth-ranked butterbread, Ling gazed at Yunshi with longing, as if she was a golden dog who had been starved for several days. Don't worry, there are still a lot. As long as you like my bread, I will make them for you every day. Yunshi put 9 butter loaves into Ling's arms, looking at her with a smile on his face. According to the traditional ceremony, as long as she accepted his gift and didn't accept other people's gifts after that, she would become his fiancée. You are tempting me, aren't you? I have a feeling that you're familiar, and this isn't the first time we have met. Ling looked cheerful as she looked at the butter loaves in her arms. Maybe this was the so-called fate. She met the right man at the right time and at the right place. Why did he know that she couldn't refuse sweet foods? Yeah, perhaps I often made bread for you in our past lives. She teased. How could Ling know that he had known everything about her? Sigh, I'm out. Ling is too cunning. I came here first. Ling is fastidious about food. I want to know how it tastes. Other girls sighed after seeing she put the bread into Ling's arms. A lot of girls looked regretful. Ling wasn't the only girl who was tempted by she's mysterious gifts. However, she was the most careless one, so she accepted she's proposal without thinking. Ling, congratulations. You are the second now. Lulu ran towards Ling, holding her hands with excitement. Lulu. Oh, since you are here, can this man be? Ling covered her mouth after seeing Lulu. Lulu was one of the most excellent girls in this area. Naturally, Ling had known who she had married. After all, this was one of the hottest topics in the nearby villages. So, he is the legendary water god's apostle? Puff. She wiped the sweat on his forehead away. When he proposed to Ling, he wasn't as calm as other people thought. Fortunately, his bread proved a sufficient lure. Plus Ling subconsciously had a good feeling about him, so he could succeed. As expected, the number of his fiancées had increased to 2 in his star system. At the same time, a gust of new power was overlapped into his body, making him feel the power from Ling clearly. Compared to Lulu's power, Ling's power was hotter. Lulu's power was like a refreshing orchid, and Ling's power was like an enthusiastic rose. She had a feeling he was like a gardener who was collecting flowers. Now, there were already 2 flowers in his garden. As a gardener, he must take care of these flowers mightily, and collect more and more flowers at the same time. The garden's power is his power. Hello, can I eat your bread? As Ling smiled like an idiot, finally a girl plucked up her courage and spoke to Yunshi. Mai Lan. Yunshi looked up. He recognized that this girl was Mai Lan, Xiao Cao's assistant, Ling's rival in Starwing's night. Unlike Ling who was born in a noble family, Mai Lan was one of the core people of Xiao Cao's camp. Xiao Cao didn't mind if she could lead a camp. She only wanted to practice her sword. However, the other civilian girls naturally formed a camp, taking her as the core. Mai Lan was Xiao Cao's camp's actual superintendent. Under her help, Xiao Cao became the Starwing's night vice-leader, forming a camp to stand up to the noble girls' camp as an equal. At other times, Mai Lan was always very calm and acted like a strategist. But now, she acted as if she was a little girl whose toy was just stolen. She pouted with an unconvinced look on her face. In fact, Yunshi had noticed that she was the first girl who had found him and come to him. Although she had lost her memory and believed that she was a native, her leadership was still great. If she hadn't been born into a declined noble family, she wouldn't be inferior to Who Are You. Chapter 182, Mai Lan's Jealousness. Other than Lulu, most of the 12 bride candidates were under Mai Lan's leadership in the real world. This fact matched Yunshi's impression of Mai Lan. She naturally knew how to unite everyone as one. If it wasn't because Who Are You's status was too high and she herself was the strongest female swordsman in the Starwing's night, Mai Lan would stand a chance to challenge Who Are You's leadership. After all, she was able to be ranked 3rd on the rating list of the Starwing's night girls. And the person who fought for the 3rd place with her wasn't anyone else but Ling, who looked silly but had great sword skill talent. To Mai Lan, even though Ling was naive, innocent, and callow, she was also a girl who didn't play by the rules. Ling was the most thorough rival in her eyes. Even though they had come to Water God's world and had lost their memories, this point hadn't been changed. As soon as she had first seen Yunshi's bread, Mai Lan had had a feeling that it was something unique in this world. Without any reason, or it was because of her instinct as a smart girl, she was the first person who figured out that bread was a kind of food. Then, they became incredible foods in her heart. And later, they became incredible foods that can even change the world. She was the only person who had realized how special Yunshi's bread was before obtaining any actual information. No matter whether it was the tempting smell, perfect golden color or artwork-like surfaces, Yunshi's bread was just like a treasure in a fairy tale, full of fatal attraction to Mai Lan. Her heart was touched. Because she knew how amazing Yunshi's bread was, so she was more eager for them than anyone. For the first time in her life, she had an impulsion of I want it at any cost. However, her self-respect stopped her from surrendering to such a simple food so easily. It was wrong. I must be calm. I should exactly figure out what food this is first, then inquire from this man about its price and calculate how much money I can pay. Mai Lan thought in her heart. If I only want to have one bread, I think I can even higgle with this man. Isn't it? It won't cause any problem if I just take a look at this bread. Also, it won't be strange if I just ask this man his gift's origin and use. Other people were still wondering if these golden things were food, and Mai Lan had realized how fantastic this food was. Nobody could be smarter than her. She would undoubtedly be the first. So, first, I should be cautious and placid. Then, Ling agreed to the man's proposal before she had had a chance to do anything. Ling didn't hesitate and directly took a loaf in her hand. She didn't even get suspicious when she did that. She acted like a hungry little dog who had just found its master. She directly ran to the man and stole Mai Lan's treasure. Hey, don't you know a lady should be restrained? Why could you do it without thinking? Aren't you a lady? Aren't you a noble? Wait, why do I think that she is a noble girl? No, this isn't important. The most important thing is that she has stolen my treasure. Besides, is it really so delicious? What is with your contented expression? And what is with your blushing face? It can't be a love potion. Based on her understanding about Ling, it must be very delicious, which corresponded to her previous judgment. Delicious, yummy, nice, good to eat. Looking at Ling's happy face, Mai Lan was sure about it. How annoying. Why her? She's just an idiot. Why is her instinct so sharp? I'm the one who found this magical food first. It was me. Ling came to this place simply because she found out that I was here. At first, I thought that you could be my friend. Ling, too bad. You have become my enemy now. You're my enemy who has stolen my treasure. Even if you are going to die, I won't go to save you. I've decided to break with you once and for all. I will remember today's humiliation forever. Finally, Mai Lan couldn't stand it and walked to Yunshi's table. I still have an opportunity. The man who has this food hasn't left. Even though Ling had stolen all my treasures, but at least, there is still a hope. Never give up until the last moment. I, Mai Lan, won't surrender so easily. Hey, Mai Lan, you also want it. Compared to Ling who was a natural socializer, Yunshi didn't know too much about Mai Lan. She was a rare smart girl whose mind was far more mature than her age. However, Mai Lan looked different today. Her eyes were red, as if she had just cried because her most important treasure was stolen. Her eyes looked desperate when she looked at Yunshi, as if she had suffered a huge psychological blow. Yes, can you give me one, great water god's apostle? I think that you are the only person who can get this food. Am I right? Unlike Ling, Mai Lan had known Yunshi's identity from the beginning. After all, his silver mask was too special. Even though his clothes were simple and provincial, his temperament was still tempting to young girls. Even if he didn't put anything on his table, he would still be noticed by many girls. When he arrived at this square, he had become the focus in the girls' eyes. He just hadn't realized it. Ha ha, as expected, I can't hide from your eyes. Yunshi smiled in embarrassment. He didn't purposely hide his identity. It was simply because no one would expect that an apostle would come to this ceremony. In this world, water god's apostles were exalted. If he said it, he wouldn't need to join this ceremony and many nobles would scramble to marry off their daughters to him. Chapter 183. The second fallen one. No one had expected that a great water god's apostle would come to this remote village and participate in the ceremony. However, Mai Lan had guessed right. She knew who this man was clearly, and only people like him could take out such fantastic food without hesitation. At the first glance, Mai Lan had had a strong urge to eat this golden food. She wanted to prove her instinct and judgment. Mai Lan had had thousands of ideas about this fantastic food which could even change the world. She had never felt so good. But now, they had all gone. Ling messed all her plans and longings. She is a humanoid demon. She is simply a shameless idiot. Her head is empty and the nutrition she had absorbed was all gathered in her beasts. What a nasty creature. She didn't know the baseline of being human. I will never forgive you. Never. You have just stolen and eaten my treasure. I will remember this. I will never forget today's humiliation and gaffe. Give you, Mai Lan. Let's eat together. When Mai Lan was going to express her anger, a snow-white small hand suddenly appeared in front of her eyes holding a golden loaf of bread. You, Mai Lan inanely gazed at Ling, who was eating her bread with a bright smile. It was such a precious food. How could she want to share it with me? What is she thinking? Cough. Sorry, I misunderstood you, Ling. You are indeed a human. Be confident in yourself. Mai Lan looked at Ling in a different light. What do you think I am? I always think that I'm a human and have never lost confidence in myself. Ling looked at Mai Lan with a "what are you talking about" expression on her face. Well, in fact, I still have a lot of bread. Yunshi immediately took out some bread from his store. Gee. You still have bread? Ling's eyes brightened up. You still have bread? Mai Lan was shocked. He still had a lot of this kind of amazing food. It's impossible. Mai Lan didn't know how this food was made, but she could feel the special qualities it contained. This was why she thought that this food could change the world. It must be expensive. According to Mai Lan's calculation, she thought even all the wealth in the 12 villages couldn't buy the 10 loaves at all. This was why she lost her cool after Ling took away all the bread on Yunshi's table. She didn't think that this food could be made easily. If Yunqiu was here, she would agree with Mai Lan's idea without prior consultation. However, it was actually very easy to make this food. What a hero-ranked baker could do was far beyond a mortal's imagination. As long as Yunshi had made a sample, he could continuously make the same bread without raw materials. Moreover, he could even store them in his storage and make them become more delicious and effective as time went by. To Yunshi, nothing would become a problem when he was making bread. He had reached the hero rank, which meant that he could already control the energy between heaven and earth. Magic, divine spell, Taoist spell, battle chi, hero-ranked combat careers were incredibly strong. However, hero-ranked non-combat careers were strong too, just in a different form. Impress, mediate, create object from nothing, exclusive storage, nothing was impossible. Mai Lan wouldn't be able to figure out Yunshi's special abilities if she only based her guessing on common sense. So, when Yunshi took out more bread and put them on the table, Mai Lan was stunned. Unlike other village girls, Mai Lan clearly knew how special these golden loaves of bread were. They were 10 times more expensive than all the other things in this ceremony. Do you want to eat this? Yunshi casually took up a loaf and handed over it to Mai Lan. Mai Lan hesitated. At this moment, many thoughts were hovering in her head. What was the change this golden food would bring to this world? How would her life be changed if she accepted it? If she accepted the apostle's gift, would she become happy? Smart people always think too much. Yunshi waited for a while, but Mai Lan hadn't accepted the bread. He even thought that his proposal had failed. Take it. Finally, Ling helped Mai Lan make the decision. She took the bread from Yunshi's hand and put it in Mai Lan's hand. It's yummy. You will regret if you miss this opportunity, Mai Lan. Mai Lan saw the light suddenly after hearing Ling's words. It was true. She couldn't miss this. It was about her fate. Unlike all her choices in her past life, this time, she was standing at the crossroads of her fate. If she accepted the bread, it meant that she had accepted the apostle's proposal and touched the string that could change the world. If she gave up and declined the bread, it meant that she had given up a chance to change the world and her endless possibilities. So, she had to make a choice. My Lan looked at the man who wore a silver mask. She had imagined what Water God's apostle looked like in her past life many times, but this time, it was her first opportunity to observe an apostle so closely. Why? Isn't this our first meeting? Why do I feel wistful? Perhaps this was her fate. She had made her choice subconsciously, hadn't she? I'm My Lan. Please take care of me from now on, great apostle. She was the smartest girl in the Starwings night. When she accepted his proposal, her shy expression made Yunshi's heart palpitate with excitement. He had his third fiancée. Chapter 184. The situation is out of control. The first step is always the hardest. After My Lan accepted his bread, everything went smoothly. Give me one. Please give me one. Well, I also want a loaf of bread. Looking at the cute girls who were asking for his bread, Yunshi had a feeling that he wasn't in a ceremony but a merchant who was selling his goods to hungry schoolgirls. Don't they know the meaning of taking his bread? No. They knew it. This was why their faces were blushing. However, they couldn't refuse his bread, the fantastic food that had never appeared in Water God's world before. They could do nothing but expose their true hearts. After a while, Yunshi had sent out the second row of the loaves of bread he just took out from his storage. Aside from Lulu, Ling, and My Lan, other Starwings night girls were enjoying his bread with happiness. Looking at their smiling faces, Yunshi was at a loss. Subconsciously, Yunshi put the third row of the loaves of bread on the table, then they were immediately snatched up by the girls. By now, the 12 Starwings night girls had all signed contracts with Yunshi, which was only at the cost of 3 rows of bread. The number in his side quest 4 had increased to 12. Success came as a surprise, which even made Yunshi feel confused. In fact, his trouble had just begun. Well, do you still have more bread? We also want to eat them. What does bread taste like? Why do they look so happy? More and more girls came and surrounded Yunshi. They weren't members of Yunshi's Starwings night but the real natives from Water God's world. Compared to the Starwings night girls, they were shyer and more reserved. However, when they saw the happiness on the faces of these Starwings night girls, they couldn't help but wonder. Sorry, the bread I prepared for proposing has all been eaten. However, if you just want to eat bread, I still have some. Yunshi immediately shook his head. He had no intention of marrying these indigenous girls. In fact, if it wasn't because of side quest 4, he didn't want to do this at all. He wanted to be an upright gentleman. Now, it will be the time to witness the miracle. Yunshi smiled. Since he didn't need to force himself to propose to anyone from now on, he thought that he could display his hero-ranked ability as a trick to amuse these girls. Praise the sun, for granting us light. Praise the earth, for granting us food. Pa. Yunshi snapped. A loaf of sweet, hot butter bread suddenly appeared in the air. It wasn't a 4th-ranked golden butter loaf. A 4th-ranked golden butter loaf would take a lot of Yunshi's energy to make. This was just a common, 3rd-ranked loaf of bread which couldn't improve vitality or moisturize skin. Yunshi could only make 100 4th-ranked bread in a day. However, it was easy for him to make 1,000 3rd-ranked loaves of bread. If he only wanted to make the most common white bread, he could even make up to 10,000 loaves in a day. This was his special hero-ranked ability. If he had sufficient raw materials, he could even support an army all by himself. No combat career could do this. Come and eat them. You're all welcome. Yunshi had a superficial knowledge of the ceremony. He casually gave these loaves of bread to the girls. They are not as good as the bread I made before, but they are delicious too. Don't worry, they are just some presents on our first meeting. Yunshi smiled brightly. He put a pile of loaves of bread before these girls who had waited for a long time. The girls looked at each other. They were not members of Yunshi's Starwings night, and they didn't subconsciously feel an affinity towards Yunshi. To them, accept Yunshi's gift meant a lot. Finally, a girl made her decision. I'll go first. Can you give me a loaf of bread? A noble girl gently lifted her skirt and bowed to Yunshi, then took away a loaf of bread. Her behavior was like a domino effect, immediately setting off a chain reaction. The girls had already been tempted by the smell of Yunshi's bread. They succumbed to their desire one after another. Just like My Lan had guessed, the people in this old world had never seen this fantastic golden food before. They couldn't resist the temptation. The bread made by the hero-ranked baker, Yunshi, was undoubtedly a great temptation to them. Master's actions look smooth. It's great. Lulu looked at them and smiled from the bottom of her heart. Therefore, she would have a lot of partners. Strange. He could marry a lot of girls in a much simpler manner. Why did he use these priceless things as gifts? My Lan nibbled her bread and wondered in her heart. He was a water god's apostle. He could marry a lot of girls easily. As long as he came to big cities and spread his intention, countless nobles and rich men would marry their daughters off to him. Why did he want to come to this remote village and present these precious treasures to us? Yummy, yummy, Owu. We don't need to think too much. I would be satisfied as long as I can eat this delicious food every day. Ling babbled as she swallowed her bread. No. There must be something we don't know. What's his intention? My Lan pondered. She sensed danger from Yunshi's unusual behavior. No, it's too bad. Yunshi was sweating profusely at this time. I had told them that these loaves of bread were not engagement gifts and I just invited them to eat them. Why are the number of my fiancés continuing to increase? This situation is out of control. Chapter 185. Water Mist Field. What happened? 12, 13, 14. After Yunshi presented his bread, the number of his fiancés was continuously increasing. After he realized that, it was already too late. 107. This was the last number after the bread on Yunshi's table had all been taken away. Why didn't the number keep increasing? Because it had reached the limit. No, it wasn't Yunshi's limit but the number of the girls in this ceremony. Oh my god. Who is this guy? No. I just bought a bottle of perfume with all my property. Gosh. This man has so many treasures. Why would he like to come to the ceremony in this remote village? Don't make fun of us. Why would such an honored man like you come to a place like this? All the young men around Yunshi whined, trying to kill him with their eyes. However, they just stared at him. No one dared to do anything. Strong people obtain everything. Strong people take all. It was the natural rule of the world. In Water God's world, strong people naturally obtained wealth, status, and honor, because there were horrible monsters hiding in the mist and ordinary people needed their protection. Ordinary people instinctively worshipped strong people. Yunshi was such a man. No one would think that he was an ordinary person after he took out such fantastic food. If the first row of golden butter loaves of bread were prepared in advance, then how would one explain the second and third row of loaves of bread? Moreover, everyone had seen Yunshi creating bread from nothing. It could explain this mysterious masked man's true power. He must be a hero-ranked person. The silver mask man wasn't at the same level with them. After Yunshi displayed that he could make food from nothing, the native girls finally decided to accept Yunshi's gifts with excitement. Why? Because to them, Yunshi's behavior wasn't just share my food with them as Yunshi thought, but a right. Yunshi underestimated the meaning of hero-ranked people in this world. He underestimated the temptation of his bread to these girls too. No girl who had taken bread from Yunshi thought that it was just a present out of kindness. Such a priceless treasure shouldn't be presented with no cost. Yunshi's self-righteous idea wasn't in keeping with the rules in this world. Accept Yunshi's bread was equivalent to accept Yunshi's proposal. No one treated it was a joke, especially after Yunshi exposed his hero-ranked power. No one thought that they would regret it. Strong people couldn't be suspected or defied. You could refuse to accept their gift, and it was your choice to do so. Normally, hero-ranked people wouldn't force ordinary people to do something for them. However, Once you made a choice and accepted the hero-ranked person's gift, there was no turning back. It was a common rule in Water God's world. In this old world, honesty and morality even overrode the law. Everyone in this world agreed with it. In White Lotus Sword Domain, sharing some loaves of bread with others was just an insignificant thing, but this was Water God's world. Yunshi mistakenly assumed that it wasn't significant in this world too. After Yunshi realized what a mistake he had made, it was already too late. No. It shouldn't be. Yunshi put on a long face. Looking at the girls who had started to chat about what clothes and jewelry they should wear at their wedding ceremony, Yunshi felt that his outlook had crashed. He had just wanted to propose to the 11 Starwings Night Girls. At first, he encountered little twists and turns, but he solved them smoothly. Ling felt his enthusiasm and helped him complete his plan. Everything would be perfect if only this and nothing more. If he knew that the situation would get out of his control, he wouldn't present his bread to these girls. Yunshi, you're dead. I have 107 fiancés now. Oh my god, what should I do? How can I be an upright gentleman from now on? This is too bad. Power was continuously being poured into Yunshi's body. The power from the Starwings Night Girls and the native girls had all overlapped within his body, making him feel that he was going to explode. If it wasn't because of the cold feeling from his water god's mask, which significantly relieved the hot feeling in his body, he would have gone mad. Yunshi could clearly feel the endless potential contained in his flesh and blood, which he had vaguely felt in his first limit practice, but it hadn't been as clear as it was now. Yunshi's power rose suddenly and sharply after obtaining the power from his 107 fiancés. The range of the mist he could control had increased to 10 miles, which had actually become his field. Gee! This feeling, Yunshi was exploring his 10 miles water mist field when suddenly, he noticed a black spot in his water mist field. He focused his attention onto the black spot, and gradually, the black spot became a clear figure. It was a black-haired woman who was bathing under a waterfall at the source of the stream beside the village. She stood in the water, letting the pure water wash her perfect body. Her skin was snow-white and slightly red, as translucent as crystal. Her slender body was graceful and exquisite, as flawless as a beautiful gem. Her breasts were towering and heaving, as lofty as 2 towers. Her legs were perfect and slender, which gave Yunshi a feeling that they shouldn't appear in a mortal's world. Plus her slender, soft, pink feet, her beauty was seductive and breathtaking. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.